In the house, Yves Edwards. Thug Jitsu himself.
Can you put clapping right there?
Yeah, we need someone.
Crowd noise is nobody.
What? There's
There's a big audience.
1,000 people off camera. What are you talking
What are
about?
you talking about, man? It's Ricky Lake show over here.
Jerry Springer. we're definitely Jerry
Why
Springer.
would Ricky Lake
we're,
be the first
we're
thing
all,
that
we're all
comes to my
drinking.
mind?
We're all drinking whiskey at like
used
10
to
o'clock in the
fantasize
morning,
about
man. We're
Right.
definitely
Man,
Jerry
He
Springer.
was a hot dude, you know.
Hey, he used to fantasize about Ricky Lake.
I mean, you know.
Hey, at one time, you know, she lost a lot of weight and she was passable for like a month. For like a month, she was passable when she lost some weight. Anyhow, Michael Corley in the house as well.
And there's the booze. Boo. Oh, sorry.
We've got the baby face, we got the heel.
So for people who don't know who these guys are, you want to tell
Shine them up, Rich Burmaster.
Shine them up.
I mean, I would, if anyone listening to this show doesn't know who these two guys are, I don't know why they listen to this fucking show in the first place. But you've literally got, I don't think, is there an organization you haven't fought or a country you haven't fought in? Basically, like you've been everywhere, man. Like everywhere around the world since like '97.
Yeah, '97 was my first fight, and I got to fight in a lot of the big promotions of the day. You know, Pride, UFC,
Fucking
Strike
amazing.
Force, Elite XC.
Of the day.
Some of the greatest finishes, and still, I mean, I know I can only assume you get somewhat tired of talking about like big moments because like it's the same thing over and over and over. But they replay the Josh Thompson head kick like every show, all the time. It's literally like a legendary finish. So
That shit's awesome.
People, if you've seen the intro to UFC, like you've seen these, man, every time.
Founding father of the UFC.
He should have.
He's
You
like
should
at
have
that
shaved
level.
your head before you came in studio.
I've been over this for a while, man.
They would have known who this guy was.
I don't know. I see like this bald head kicking somebody.
Well, I don't think you ever had hair when you fought.
Nah, I always had my hair shaved. It's always bald.
You
I
pull
was
out
like-
them guillotines.
I was like a reverse Samson. Exactly. Like pull out a guillotine.
Pull out of the guillotines.
Yeah.
See, that's what
Yeah,
it was.
and then on the other side we got Michael Chase Corley, who's been. I mean, you've been everywhere as well, like around the world.
Porn star.
Porn star.
He shaved the mustache though.
Porn star. Ladies, you married yet?
No, but
There you
I've
go,
been
lady.
with someone
Porn
for
star.
a while now. Yeah.
He's like, man,
Yeah, we yeah.
It's just like we're just
Common law.
We're just stuck there now.
No.
The excitement level for that, she's not gonna like that. You should really step that up. A little.
Diego, can you edit this?
Diego edits nothing. Diego edits nothing. Nothing's getting cut. Nothing's getting beat. Be careful.
You fought all over.
Yeah,
Kickboxing.
everywhere in Southeast Asia, Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia, Korea, a little bit of Europe, South America, Suriname.
You spent some time in Thailand, like
Yeah.
years, right?
Yeah, I worked at Fairtex for a year and a half, and then I kind of wandered around for different places after that, but fighting and training.
Yeah.
But but I've gone back except for COVID. I go back every year, sometimes twice in a year. So yeah, I'll be back there in May, back to Thailand.
You grew up in Houston?
Yeah, spring.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we were neighbors growing
Hell
up.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Cheers
you
to that.
grew up in Spring too. You went to what high school?
Spring High.
Spring High School.
Ooh, damn.
Is that the lion?
Damn, no wonder he's such a great fighter.
Yeah, you used to fight all them dudes over there, huh?
My oldest daughter went to Spring High School, and I hear about a lot of fights. I hear
Yeah,
about
you got to
a
be a
lot
great
of
fighter
fights on my
to
camera.
make it in Spring High School.
Yeah, especially nowadays,
Especially
right?
these
Yeah.
days, yeah. It's
You
tough.
grew up where in Houston too?
I grew up in Houston. When I came to the U.S., I came to Southwest Houston, so I went to Robert E. Lee off of Hillcroft. over
Okay.
in there, Richmond.
Well, how old were you when you came?
I was 15. I moved here.
Probably changed the name of that one.
That's kind of a rough age to move from like a totally different place to.
Yeah, it
You
was
moved from
yeah.
where?
the Bahamas.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was really different, man. I'd never seen so many white people. So serious.
Robert E. Lee, I mean, of course. I
Listen,
mean,
this is gonna sound strange, but I moved from New Orleans to Spring. I'd never seen so many white people when I moved out here.
I can dig it, man.
Yeah,
New
all
Orleans
right,
is solid.
cool.
NOLA.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
So you came at 15 years old?
I came at 15.
And what got you into training? You started training what year?
Or
Or how old were you?
96. Like I fell in love with so I got here. I love martial arts my whole life. Like the first movie I ever remember watching was Enter the Dragon. My uncle brought home a Betamax, and he brought up Superman and Enter the Dragon. You know, I watched those 2 movies, and I fell in love with martial arts since then. Grew up in all like the Van Damme movies and the blood sports and all that, and then I moved here right before like the '92 Olympics with the Dream Team. You know, so I was like super excited about that. And then the next year, I think, was the first UFC, and I see it in the magazine. And I'm like begging my stepdad. I'm like, we gotta order this. This is kickboxing versus karate versus jiu-jitsu, blood sport. Yeah. You know, I was super excited about it. And I was doing traditional kung fu, like praying mantis kung fu. And then in the first UFC, Jason DeLucia, he represented praying mantis kung fu. And I'm watching the UFC, you know, and Art Jimison and Hoist Gracie come out, and he comes out with the one glove, and then he takes him down. It's like I don't know what's going on. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh man, Jason DeLucia, he does what I do. I'm gonna see some cool kicks and stuff like that. And he threw one wheel kick, nothing, came close to landing. And then he double-legged the guy, took him down, took his back and choked him. And I was like, maybe there's something to this grappling stuff that they're talking about. And so like that's when I started like trying to pay attention to grappling. And I started watching everything from then. Everything I get my hands on, Pancras tapes, any Shudo tapes, anything like that. And that kind of like just interests me more in learning about the rest of the sport, you know? I went back home to the Bahamas. One of my best friends, his little brother came outside, and he's like, in this uniform, like, he's like, where are you going? I'm like, where are you going? He's like, I'm going to my ninjutsu class. I'm like, ain't no ninjas in the Bahamas, bro. You know? So he's like, oh yeah, like, we do like chokes and arm locks and stuff like what they do in the UFC. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. So I went up there to check it out. And
In the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas.
Okay.
So I was like 17. I went back home after I graduated high school. And I went back home for like a year. And I go in there, and this 14-year-old kid, I'm about to turn 18. This 14-year-old kid chokes me out. And I'm like, I got to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
Like, this is super cool. And it wasn't, I mean, for the time, I guess it was okay. But I don't know if you guys remember Scott Morris. Scott Morris, the guy who got elbowed in the face to death.
Yeah.
And then Steve Jenner.
Yeah.
They were both at one point in under that same system that they had a facility in Bahamas. RBWI, I think it was called Robert Bussey Warrior International. I don't know who Robert Bussey is at this point, but they did grappling. It was ninjutsu. So that's when I started, and then I came back to the U.S., got my green card. My first paycheck went to training. Yeah.
And when you came back here, you trained where? You were with Tim and them.
I started with Tim Mosel, so I trained in the park with my friend in the grass for like 2 years until I got my green card, and then as soon as I my first paycheck from Applebee's, I went to Tim Mosel's place because that was the only school I knew of, and I started training with him.
I mean, then that was really like the only.
It was like Tim Mosel,
Was
Saul
Eric Williams
Solis.
here yet?
He was with Tim Mosel.
Yeah, that's right.
They were in the same building.
Saul was here.
Saul was here, and Tony Torres Aponte.
Tony
Yeah.
Torres.
Those are the, and then
Jungle.
Alvis.
Tony's still
Alvis
around.
also. Alvis Solis.
I think I'm not sure where Moses is now, but I saw he was in and out of like different areas still.
Yeah.
Like it's weird for a guy who's been around so long. But like unless you like really know, he kind of gets forgotten, like and washed in the history of like MMA and Houston for sure.
Yeah. So when I left, we fell out at one point, and then like of course I'm sure we're cool now, but like I just haven't reached out or seen him or anything since I got back. And then when I started training with Saul, like we just went our separate ways, and I've stuck with Saul until I left Houston. You know.
Mosel's kind of like this mystery guy who like instructors will have show up every now and then. Like I remember we were at Militich here in Houston, and then Sam Hoger brought him in, and you're like, okay, Mosel's still. Cool.
But nobody knew Sam Hoger until season 1 of Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, no one knew who he was.
Right?
Well, I knew about Sam because I was when he was at LSU, and he was doing he started the only like jiu-jitsu thing at LSU, and I had some friends who were going there because I was at a kickboxing gym in New Orleans, and they would do cross training and do like these basically were like smokers. Where they would come out to the little warehouses and
Joe Ancona?
Yeah, Joe hey, Joe Ancona was my first boxing coach.
Yeah, I know. Me and Eve know Joe.
We know well.
We all know Joe.
We got
really.
we got some stories about Joe.
Yeah.
Let's hear him.
Yeah. I don't think any of them would probably be great stories about Joe, but that's how I knew Sam, and then he went out to Militich and got on
Ultimate
Fighter.
I feel like back then in that era, there wasn't a lot of options, right? For training.
Man. There was almost no options. You know, like I said, in Houston, There was Saul, Tim Mosel, Alvis Solis, and Tony Torres Aponte, as far as I remember, and Mike Altman.
Altman.
Mike
Yeah.
Altman.
I remember
Yeah.
Altman.
Yeah, but that was mostly kickboxing, right? Yeah, there were very few options. There weren't even options to fight, man.
That was my next question.
There was nothing. Like, I was fighting for this thing called Power Ring Warriors up in Dallas. My first fight, I went up there and I fought some guy. I don't even remember his name. Huge guy. But
No weight class.
No weight class.
Yeah.
And I fought for a guy named Buddy Alvin. I don't know if you know that name,
Yeah.
but I fought for Buddy Alvin back then. And man, that guy, I forget what the promise was. I forget what the numbers was, but he promised it was
Hot
probably
dog and
like
a handshake.
5-5 or 500 or something like that.
There was no contracts.
No contract.
Yes,
and
500
after the
brother.
fight, that dude tried to get away with giving me $160.
We didn't sell any tickets, bro.
Hey, brother, it was a lighthouse tonight,
Your
brother.
problem, bro.
Yeah, you're the promoter, man.
Yeah, I don't have nothing to do with that. I do my $500, but
I don't know if you saw or heard, but we had Colin Cantrell on the show. Like,
I was hoping we would make our way to that. My favorite
Oh, it's
Colin
gonna come up,
Cantrell
of course.
story.
well, the reason he said Buddy,
Yeah.
and Colin fought for that guy, right?
Yup.
Because I remember Colin saying that name.
yeah.
So do you remember the main event fight you had with Colin Cantrell?
That was in Humble, though, right?
That wasn't humble. It was right around here.
How long after the Dallas stuff was? That was the same promoter.
Same promoter. Yeah.
So he would come here too.
Yeah, he
It was
came.
probably
I think that was
not
the
too
first
much-
time he came to Houston.
Yeah.
He went to Humble, but
came-
y'all did it outside on the dirt, right? In the
Yeah,
rodeo.
yeah,
Yeah, it was at the rodeo arena at the Humble Civic
But
Center
that's
in the
like
dirt.
we were doing it in the dirt up in Dallas, like
Oh,
at
was that-
the Fort Worth Stockyards.
Stockyards.
So we were fighting up there.
But it wasn't out of cage, right?
That was in a ring.
A
It
boxing
was in a ring, so you had to walk across this big rodeo dirt floor to the cage, and then get up, and then there's dust all in the cage.
I had like with USA
Like
Muay Thai,
trivia.
I meet a bunch of people from all over the U.S. and this guy in Arizona, I didn't know he had a lot of knowledge of MMA stuff from back in the day. And he's like, "Man, you got Yves at your gym now?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, he came out to this show in Arizona." And it was like an outdoor show. The weather was bad, and they like got under the tent and had like a grappling super fights. The fights are off. I was like, "Are you sure?" And I asked him. He's like, "Yeah, man, we were doing like grappling."
Greatest show on earth.
It was horrible because the fights were supposed to be outside. It was Frank Shamrock was hosting the show. He was promoting the show, and yeah, it was raining and it was freezing, and they had one fight in the rain in the ring, and the ring was canvas, so it's wet and cold.
Nasty.
People's feet are tearing up because the ice is or the cold is freezing up their feet, and then he sold all these tickets. We all had to go inside, and he's just like they pull out the mats that everybody warmed up on, and then he just did grappling matches. Like it was. I
So
mean,
there
he
was
tried
no
to save it, but there were no fights that night.
He
It's
should
kind of
just
bad.
reschedule and free.
So what
entry.
do you remember about the fight with Colin Cantrell?
Stinky white dude got on him, man. I don't know.
Nah, I was training with Tim Mosel, and Tim Mosel was like, he was kind of a sadist, So like Colin Cantrell came to the locker room. We were warming up, and I didn't even know who I was fighting. So Cantrell comes to the locker room, and Tim sees him, and like he's he's holding pads for me, and he just starts holding for knees, right? And he's like, harder. And he's just screaming, and I'm just drilling knees into the pad. And then he's like, hey man, this guy wants to talk to you. And I turn around and it's Colin. I don't know him at the time. And he's like, hey man, I just want you to know there's no disrespect. I just took this fight because they asked me to. But, I don't know. I don't want you to feel like I disrespect you. I'm wearing my I never take my wedding ring off. And I'm just like, okay, bro, cool. And then when he left, Tim was like, yeah, I had you throw those knees because that guy's scared of your knees.
Whenever Colin tells the story, he's like, making his way through the locker room, and he says he hears these just loud pops, and you're talking about that you throwing the knees. So he heard them, and they're memorable to him because it was part of his story and telling us
in
about
his story,
that.
he's just like, oh man, I don't get hit by those.
Well, listen, the first part of the story is him going into the rules meeting or something, and he's got this friend with him, and this friend's like, oh man, see that big ass dude up there? He has a handlebar mustache or whatever. He's like, that's the biggest baddest dude in here. And I watched this little black guy beat his ass the last time that we had a show here.
Yeah.
So Colin was like, oh really? He's like, yeah. So then later on they get the matchup, and his friend's like, oh, you're fighting that guy? That's a little black guy.
That's the guy.
That's a little black guy that beat that bitch. And Colin was like, man, I really started shitting my pants.
I didn't know about that side.
At that point, it was like, I really started. But he did say that you went and talked to him or something and told him, hey, man, I'm going to take it at your pace.
You're nervous, aren't you? You know, we'll take it at your pace. We'll take it at your speed. Don't worry.
Yeah, because like in the
You
fight,
didn't want him to pull out.
Bro, I didn't.
That's what it was. You didn't want him to pull out.
I didn't because I had friends and family there, you know. But like, I'm also not a jerk, man. I was like inside the ring, Moser was like, hit him in the face, punch him in the fucking face, and just like going off. And I'm in a half guard and I like spin for a knee bar.
Yeah,
you know. So it was.
Like,
I was.
Let me try.
Hey, we'll take it at your pace. Don't worry. But we're not going out of the first round, just so you know, right?
Yeah, but it was cool, man. It was fun. Those are the days, man. It was MMA was different. That was back when like open hands in Texas.
Yeah, so there was no gloves or nothing. Huh?
No gloves. You had to hit open hand. It's really stupid.
So your first sanctioned MMA fight was when? Like with actual 4-ounce gloves and what promotion? It was a promotion here in Texas. Probably.
No.
Was it hook and shoot?
No, it was Extreme Challenge. Monty Cox Extreme Challenge, and he had a show in Utah.
Okay.
And it's funny because I had to pay my way there. You know, this is back in the day, so I had to pay my way there. And this was my first time fighting a black belt. I fought Fabiano Iha, and I got armbarred. It was horrible, but like it was that whole myth of the black belt was invincible back then. You know, it's still like the '90s. And we went up to Utah and fought and lost to Fabiano Iha in a tournament where him and Kleber Luciano fought in the finals.
And that, like fighting out there, and how long from like those first fights, or how many of those first fights did you have before you got a call up to the UFC or?
Oh man,
bigger because it wasn't
in the
long.
beginning. You kind of you had like a UFC fight and then like a hook and shoot fight or something. Like you went.
There was no
you kinda
UFC
went back
contract?
and forth, right? For a while in the beginning.
Yeah, so it was a time when the UFC only had 5 shows a year. They had 5 pay-per-views a year, you know, and that ended up basically biting me in the ass down the road. But so I was able to fight in the UFC, but then I fought for Sean Shelby, Sean's ex-wife, Helen. She had a show in Hawaii. I fought out there, like after my very first UFC fight, and then I was fighting for hook and shoot back and forth, bouncing between hook and shoot and the UFC. But the trick was,
so Sean does know what it's like to spend his own money on.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rule was if you were to fight outside of the UFC and lose, you're probably not coming back to the UFC.
Wow. So it's a big risk every time.
Yeah, but like you can't live off of, like the UFC
Can't live
money
off
was
5 shows a year though.
can't,
Right?
and you're fighting like twice maybe.
Yeah, you're not guaranteed for all 5.
No.
Well, I'm sure their roster wasn't as heavy as it is
Definitely
now.
Definitely
Like
not.
they might have had 100 guys max.
Yeah.
Maybe
100.
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
about
if
5
you only go
shows.
5 though, and you have that many people. I mean, not
they're not
everybody's going to
putting
fight on every
26
card
fights
unless
on
you're
a card.
Ken Shamrock or somebody, right?
Yeah,
They're not doing 26 fights per card either, like we do.
Yeah, it was a different time, man.
So
but
your first UFC fight was what year?
2001.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 2001. Right after 9/11.
And that was who versus who?
Matt Serra.
Matt Serra.
Yeah, Matt.
Matt the Terrorist.
Yeah, and he just fought his first UFC fight, and I was with Saul at the time. So that's how I ended up getting into the UFC. You know, like the UFC used to be in Louisiana all the time. They used to have all those shows down there, and I started going down there watching the fights ever since like Boss and Pedro Hizzo and those guys were fighting in the UFC. I saw
the commission.
They would do Lake Charles or New Orleans.
Lake Charles or
because
New
the
Orleans,
commission. I mean, it was,
What
it was,
venue
it was
did
top,
they
top
have?
ticket shit.
Superdome.
Oh, you know what? They went to the Lake Charles Civic Center.
Yeah, they were at the Lake Charles Civic Center,
went to the
the
Lake Charles
Pontchartrain
Civic
Center.
somewhere in Kenner. Yeah. And then they had I fought in was it
Somewhere in
Natchitoches?
Kenner.
Probably.
Shreveport. Fought in Shreveport, Louisiana once for UFC like
Horseshoe?
38.
I think it was a Shreveport Civic Center.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure it was a Shreveport Civic Center.
Okay.
I remember we went to.
I went to some of those shows back then. Like I was still living there then.
Yeah.
Like in our little group of guys, we didn't have anybody who was fighting there, but we were all going there like doing these little smokers, thinking, "Look at these guys, we're gonna be here one day." And then you see people go, "Okay, I'm never gonna be there."
I'll never make it here. I'll never do this.
Yeah. I was like, that dude's really good. I don't know what I'm thinking.
When you got signed to the UFC, was Sean working there?
Sean was not
Shelby?
there yet. No, he was not. It
So
was
he
Joe
didn't-
Silva.
And who?
Joe Silva did everything.
Joe Silva did everything back then.
He did all the matchmaking.
All the matchmaking. It was
The
a
owner
much
wasn't
smaller
Dana
crew.
then.
Dana was the president. I mean, he was still like the commissioner of the UFC, you know. And the Fertittas had just bought it. I think they bought it around UFC 30, and then my first fight with them was UFC 33.
Oh, so they had just
They
got
had
it.
just gotten it, probably like a year.
Buffer was there
earlier.
already.
Buffer was there. Yeah, Buffer
He
was
was
there.
there like day
10.
So
one.
you fought through all different iterations of the UFC. Like you had the early UFC.
I didn't get to fight for SEG. I didn't fight when they owned it, but I mean,
Well, I guess I
was
meant
still-
from like the Zuffa era, like
Yeah,
from that,
Zuffa,
from that
yes.
30, 33, whatever.
SEG was pro-
because your last
pre-Zuffa.
UFC fight was
Pre-Zuffa.
2012,
2014. 2014
So you
was my
fought
last.
through different versions of like the small little UFC thing to this gigantic monster.
Yeah, it was very different. So after getting through the UFC, I got to the point where it's like Josh Thompson and I were the two best lightweights, and then we fight. And like a couple weeks before the fight, like we're super excited. Like I'm fighting in WC, and Josh is out there, and he's like, "You win this fight, man. You got to win this fight because we got to fight. You know, we got to fight. We got to get settled this belt." And I win that fight out there, of course. And then Josh and I we're preparing to fight each other, and like a month or so before, we hear like it's not gonna be for the belt, you know. So we're both disappointed, of course. And then they canceled the whole weight class, you know.
Yeah.
So Josh and I fight. That's the last lightweight fight for a couple of years
In the UFC?
in the UFC.
Yeah, they got rid of
That was
55.
When BJ Penn had left,
BJ had left.
and then there was because y'all's originally was supposed to be a title fight, right?
Yeah, Josh and I were supposed to be for a title. I'm sorry. BJ and Uno, they ended up in the finals of that tournament, I believe,
Yep.
and nobody won. It was a draw, and then they just they didn't know what to do with the belt for a while. Jens was still claiming to be the champ because he never lost it and nobody ever won it, and
Well, that was
Yeah.
the whole talk when you and Thompson fought was that like this is the uncrowned champion,
Right.
You know, and it was kind of like this weird. As a fan, you're sitting back going, "This sucks for you guys," because you're like, "This is what you worked for. You get here at this moment, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey guys, it's just a regular fight, by the way."
Yeah.
and we're getting rid of your fucking division. So
So as a courtesy, we're gonna let you have the fight.
yeah.
it's really disappointing, and like I feel like it's really only disappointing for me because Josh and I have talked about it before, and I'm like, man, are you disappointed about it? And he's like, you know what? No, it's just the way things work out, and blah blah. And I'm thinking, that's because you lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a lot easier to say that when you're like, I wasn't gonna win the title anyway.
Yeah.
Highlight reel, right?
So yeah.
That was a highlight reel?
Yeah. So yeah, that was real disappointing, man. That's still one of my biggest regrets. You know, I don't have that UFC goal on my wall.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that kind of messed with my head for a while too. You know.
After.
But like after that, I went to Pride. I did the Pride tournament. I didn't win that tournament, unfortunately. And then, you know, I bounced around a little bit because UFC didn't have 55, so I still fought hook and shoot a little bit. And I think I fought Bodog a bit too. And then I came back to the UFC after that. No, that's a lie. When I went to Pride, then the Ultimate Fighter happened. That's what happened. And then I don't remember the year, but after the Ultimate Fighter, they started bringing back the 55ers.
Yeah.
And I came back, and the UFC was different. It was different.
And those were around
It
like
was-
2005, 2006,
So
right?
yeah,
Growing.
so 05,
It had
05 was
grew a
tough
lot,
run.
right?
So that 06, 07, it kind of went
Yeah.
bonkers.
The growth was different, and I came back, and that was like my most disappointing fight in my career.
Did you fight Sam Stout?
No, Mark Hominick.
Yeah.
Mark Hominick, and like I was just like I couldn't believe that I was having like those UFC jitters. I was having those in that fight because it's like this was different. This was just it was just different, and it was like it's not like I'm not used to this and I couldn't handle it, so I don't know why it's different for me. You know what I mean?
Bright lights, bigger stage, maybe.
Yeah, well,
right.
you know, back in the day, you go to the hotel and you'd have like a few people that be like, "Oh, there's Eve."
Yeah.
And then after all that time, then now there's people like they know where the hotel room, the lobby
like
is. There's like
the
people
stalker
packed
fans
there.
that
They
show
got-
up.
Yeah, they got it was, yeah.
There's
was
the
weird.
girls waiting at the hotel room when you get back up
You go
there.
from
Yeah,
like
it's
a
different.
couple
It's
thousand
different
at
then,
the
right?
previous UFC event to like thousands.
Yeah, but
know,
like
yeah.
this is after coming back from Pride.
Pride, yeah, it's
So
true.
it was
Pride
like-
was
it
big, too.
Pride was huge. Like
Yeah,
the
at the
fans
time,
were
Pride
at the
was huge.
hotel with like literally in Japan. Japan is crazy, bro.
Diego would have loved the Pride fans.
Hey, dude, little hands.
They love you long time.
Diego would have loved it.
It's so nuts because like they'll be at the hotel after the fight with the DVD of the fight. You know,
Damn.
like literally,
That's
you take
like
the bus
top-notch
back.
bootlegging right there.
Yeah,
Man.
right.
Wow.
And they're ready to go.
Hey, Yves, I got your fight. Would you like to buy it?
Man, they'll give it to you. They will literally give it to you. You know. Yeah, it was just different, man. But yeah, that was fun. It's funny because like Corley, Corley came to my gym as like a 16-year-old kid, right? He saw some kid in his school wearing a shirt from my gym, and then he came up there, and I was just like, it's just another one of these white kids coming up to my school, want to train, blah blah blah. And then like just slowly, really quickly, he just kind of just became part of the group, you know. And then I think he had just graduated high school right around the time that I was fighting in Pride. He used to come to all the fights. He used to come to Jersey to all the fights and come to Vegas to all the fights. And I didn't think anything of it. Found out later his mom worked in the airlines and he had to travel a lot, you know. So like,
hey, buddy, how you doing, man?
So he's like, I'm getting ready for that first fight in Japan, and I'm super excited about it. And I'm like, me and Tim Crater up at the gym, we're training at like 3 a.m. because I'm like, yeah, we're gonna train this time because that's the same time in Japan I'm gonna be fighting. So we're gonna do this. And then he's coming up to these 3 a.m. trainings, you know, at the gym, and he's like, man, if I come to Japan, well, would you let me corner you? Can I come to your fight? And I'm like, bro, if you come to Japan, you can be in the corner. You know, I'm like this 17, 18-year-old kid. Like, he's not coming to Japan.
Empty promise.
We get off the plane. And we're walking into Narita Airport in Japan, and he's like standing. He's like, "What's up, guys?"
I got here on a buddy pass, man.
I'm like, "What are you doing?" He was there before us, waiting on us. It was pretty dope, man.
That's kick ass.
And then this is I still don't believe him, and he's gonna claim that it's true. But we went to we were in Osaka, I believe. No, we were in Tokyo.
You go fix it right.
We're in
Ariake.
no. We were in the business Shinjuku.
Okay, so we're in
then
Shinjuku. We go hang out we hang out at these clubs and whatnot. And
Then
me
we
and
went to
Tim Crater,
Roppongi.
we leave all night. We hang out all night. We leave. We take a train back or something, and we get back to the hotel. Tim's like, wait, where's Irish? And he's like, I'm like, did we leave him there? You know? And he's like, he comes back.
Irish
and
is Corley.
It's Corley. And he says he walked back to the hotel. We took like 3 trains. He says he walked back.
Yeah, it was like 3 hours.
He said he played a pickup game of basketball with kids.
No, it was a baseball because Japanese they play the baseball.
Baseball.
Fish a couple innings.
He's lying.
I don't believe it, man.
I
That's
rode
too-
those trains out there.
way
That's a
too
long
far.
walk, man.
No, I walked and I just kept going because they have a ton of 7-Elevens. I just kept walking in Shinjuku, and they'd point. I was like, Shinjuku. Okay, and I just keep going and
Dude, man,
going.
that's a long walk.
It was
That's a very far
it was
walk.
long.
Yeah.
It was long.
How did you get the name Irish? Because when I
From
met
what
you,
from what he's talking about, from those 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. training sessions, I was coming probably from like a party or high school party, and they're like, "Man, every time you come in here, you smell like you've just been drinking." I said, "Yeah, man, it's Irish Muay Thai." And then I said, "This is Irish Muay Thai." And then he's like, "Yeah, you know what? Yeah, all right, Irish." And that was,
I never knew when you got that, how you got that nickname.
Yeah, that's-
and like, so Jace is one of my best friends.
Yeah.
Jace Petrie. You know Jace.
Yep, I know Jace.
So I met you through Jace.
yeah.
And I met you through Travis.
Yeah.
Probably. What year was it that I met you? You remember kind of? It had to be like 09.
Yeah, I was gonna say 08, 09, because I think you and Andrew both fought on the same, like, man.
Wait. Hold
Andrew-
on. This is news to me. I didn't know you had fights.
Oh my god.
I knew you were black belt, but I didn't know
Really?
you had any fights.
This
Eric.
dude's
That's
gonna,
the undefeated champ.
Hey,
Really?
this dude's gonna treat me like safe. Like safe Sayud.
What is it?
Safe is
I
the
didn't know you
best.
fought.
Like, if you- So quickly for safe, like if there's so many promoters and like matchmakers and guys out there who's got zero experience,
Yeah.
like haven't even trained or done anything, and so he does not fucking like, trust, talk, deal with any of those. First thing he'll do is like he'll be like, where'd you fight at, or who'd you train with, what'd you do?
Let's go back a little bit. So I started Fury like in 13, and I think we went to Dallas like
I
in
remember
16
you
or
would call
17.
you would call me a couple of times. You would ask me about promoting, and now you're like the godfather of promoting in Texas.
I don't know about all that, but I appreciate
You,
That's very kind. Hey,
what show in
I would
Texas
take that from
usually
Yves
is bigger,
Edwards.
You know?
So, but anyway,
Oh,
so
none, to be clear,
yeah, no.
nothing. Just wanna put
But but when we would go do shows in Dallas, like I was always trying to get these guys from Safe's gym, and he just wouldn't respond, or I couldn't talk to him or nothing.
No thanks.
So when we went to the last Dallas show, he's like, "Can you reach out to Safe?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." We reached out, and first thing he's like, "Who's promoting this?" I'm like, "It's Eric Garcia." He goes, "I don't know anything about him." He's like, "Rich, I know your relationship with you. We'll talk." I'm like, "Cool." Put the show on, and then it's a party at Mick's house.
Yes.
So there was a Christmas. I don't know what it was.
It was a crawfish broil.
Yeah, a crawfish boil at Mick's house. So there's
Safe's there and I show
fucking
up.
Everyone's there. Eric shows up. Safe shows up. And Safe, if he has a question, he's going to ask you in front of everybody. He's not, doesn't worry about it. Walks over and he's like, "Tell me about yourself," or whatever. Like, and they start talking about fights. He goes, "Oh, you've had fights? Oh, well, shit. Okay. Well, you're good with me." And basically from that point forward, like, dude, that's just a relationship, man. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
doesn't
he's
respect
solid.
it. Yeah.
He's been solid, and now we've been to Dallas a handful of times, and we fill him with his guys. Long story short, but
He's got time for Fury now that he knows that you've been in the trenches.
well, at the end of the day, he's fucking super busy. I know, but yeah, he does make time now to put his guys on the cards, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I met Corley like it had to be around that time.
Yeah, there
And
was
it was through
a-
Lewis Wood, right?
Yeah,
Boxing?
Lewis
Yeah,
and
Through Lewis.
I remember Andrew Craig, I think was, because I graduated college in 2007. Andrew was a year above me. And I remember Travis like, "Hey, you know that guy you've worked with, at the gym every now and then. It's my cousin." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, he's having like an MMA smoker this weekend." I'm like, "What?" And I think you were doing it too.
It's in Conroe, I think.
Yeah, it was in. This is what's
Somewhere.
funny. It's in New Caney.
There you go.
It was at a hot rod show. It was like hot rods.
Bro, it was like a hot rod.
It was like rockabilly bands on a stage, and then
hot
like
dog and a handshake.
it was like
heyday. Wow.
like it was the intermission of the band. They're like, "All right, y'all, we're gonna get y'all some more cage fights right now."
That is awesome.
It was wild, man.
Oh, that's
It was
awesome.
wild, but
It was a trip, man. I remember Jace and I were there, and I think at that time, Jace and me were like, "Dude, I don't know how to wrap my hands." Nobody knew how to do shit. Not our guys, but like all the people they were fighting probably wrapped our opponents' hands. Like, no, it was. I don't know who put that on, but cheers.
who was the announcer? Was it Colin?
I don't know. I just remember
I think it was Colin.
Probably would have been Bart.
No, I thought it was Colin. But I remember like Andrew's opponent ended up falling out, and he had to fight that kid that we trained with.
Yeah, it was something. And then that kid never fought again or trained anymore.
Yeah, that kid was pretty good.
Yeah, I liked him.
That
It
kid
was
was pretty
it.
good.
Andrew beat him up.
Yeah, Andrew subbed him, I think.
Yeah.
That's why the kid never came back in. You had to see these guys another day. Can't come back after that.
I don't know why, but that just reminds me of this one story. We had this guy in our gym. Remember the bald head?
Oh, yeah,
tattoo
yeah,
white
yeah,
guy?
yeah.
So we had this bald head tattoo white guy. We took
Recently?
him down to some fight. No, this is a long
No,
time
this,
ago. This is
I'm gathering this must be an old story.
Yeah, this is
You don't remember his
way
name?
back.
Bald head,
Yeah.
bald head
Bald head,
tattoos.
black guy.
No, white guy. White guy.
White
Colin
guy?
Cantrell.
Okay, got to be Colin.
Go back to Colin. It's Colin. It's Colin.
But like we took these guys down to Louisiana for some fights and whatnot. Rocky Long was one of my guys back then, right?
Hey, shout out
And,
Rocky Long.
So
Good old
we
Rocky.
go down there. Rocky had this cousin who used to do all of our driving. He didn't fight, chubby guy. He used to do all of our driving when we got out of town. So like we drive down there, we get in some fights. This guy comes back. This guy loses, right? He comes back to the gym the next day, and or a few days later, and we're training. I'm like, "How you doing, man?" He's like, "I'm good." He's like, "You hurt or anything?" He's like, "Nah, man, that dude hits like a bitch." And Rocky's cousin goes, Rocky's cousin who doesn't fight and is fat, he goes, "That bitch knocked you the fuck out." Everybody just fell on the floor laughing. That was the last day that dude ever trained.
He was out of
He
there.
was done.
So he didn't just lose; he got knocked
He
out.
got knocked out. He got
Damn.
TKO'd.
Then you get humiliated by the driver.
There's a trainer anything,
Who
right?
doesn't? Who
Fuck
doesn't
this.
even
Fuck
try?
you guys. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
It was
That's
bad.
awesome.
Pillow hands.
Yeah, we had some good times, man.
Yeah, I remember that. So Corley, you grew up in Spring,
Yep.
but your dad was a cop, right?
Yeah.
Our dads knew.
Yeah.
Did they work together?
I don't know if they worked together, but I think they were at the same.
Same station.
Yeah, in Greenspoint, I think, North Side.
Ooh, damn.
Because my dad's always at my dad's
Man,
always
they, hey,
asking
they
how
were
important
busy
it is.
back then. Your dad and his dad were busy back in the day working.
You
at
remember
Greenspoint.
life as a son of a police
Oh
officer?
yeah.
Was he around much, or he was?
He was always working extra jobs. If he wasn't doing city work, he was doing
an
stuff
extra
in
job.
Inwood, all over the place. Yeah, he was always working.
And my
It was
dad
a rough neighborhood, man.
and my dad always tell me I was working them extra job to put them Jordans on your feet.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta appreciate that. So, like, what
Guns point.
got you into?
My dad's
wanting to
friend
fight.
was a police officer. Your dad probably knows. His name's Ed Hattrick, Irish Ed Hattrick, and he's from New York. He moved down here. He was a professional boxer. And
That's not the guy my dad beat up.
No. No, this guy's.
Your dad's like,
6'5",
Eric, I told you that
big
guy's
guy.
name. You know who that is.
I forgot his
No,
name.
that's what my dad told me. He's like, he goes, "Oh yeah, that's his dad." I said, "Oh yeah, don't piss him off. He whooped somebody's ass outside the station before." I was like, "It's like, yeah,
You hear that, Pop?
yeah." They had some mutual respect. But yeah, he took me. I used to watch just boxing when I was a teenager at their house, and I was like, I loved it. And he was just like, I'll take you down to a gym, and he took me to the police gym that was on West Montgomery a couple of times, and I just worked out up there, and he showed me some basic stuff for a few times. Then he took me to Savannah's Boxing Club,
Okay.
and I remember getting my ass beat like all the time by everybody in there. And I remember Willie Savannah, rest in peace, he'd come out and be like, "God damn it, God, that boy just keeps bleeding all over the ring. Somebody get him out of the ring. I'm tired of watching this shit." It's like, but yeah, they were. It was fun. The guy Gary Pena, he used to work at Drew's gym. He used to run.
I remember Gary.
He
ACS?
used to run a teen boxing group at a Savannah's a long time ago, and that's where I started with him. And then we went to Jay Prince's gym for a little bit, this little group. Then we went back to Savannah's, and it was about that time I met Yves. And Yves came out to one of my boxing matches. It was at like the West Side Tennis Club or whatever, like one of the. And it was like a Houston versus New York thing. And yeah,
Sanctioned?
No, it was like USA Boxing.
Okay.
It was like when I was doing amateur boxing, and then when I went to his gym, I was like, man, I drive like 45 minutes in traffic to Savannah's, and he's like, I have a gym like right over here. I'm like, oh
right,
shit,
right by you.
I'm done.
I'm
Never
done.
looked back.
Eves did?
Yeah, he had it on Rayford, right next to Popeye's Chicken.
Yeah, dude, it's like, a 10-minute drive compared to the West Side Tennis Club. That had to be like, shit,
Yeah,
45 minutes an hour?
So right when I went there, I was just getting my ass beat there too. But I was liking like all the different stuff. I didn't know. I knew what I used to rent VHS UFC stuff, and
You had to go to the back of
Yeah, I
Blockbuster to
remember
get
he-
those.
I remember I went. Just like, yeah, whatever, okay. I was like, yeah, I've been watching these tapes, and I like that guy Frank Shamrock. He strikes and he does the grappling. He's like, yeah, okay, you'll learn that too. Come
Eves
on.
would tell you?
Yeah, it's just like,
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll show you all that.
Yeah, that's some shit. We
You had that gym when you were still fighting?
Yeah, I had that gym before I got to the UFC.
Okay.
I opened that place in 2000. Yeah, I think I opened that place in like 2000. I just moved up to the Woodlands, and Rocky Long was my first student. He's the first guy to come in there with his kids. And
Was it called like Woodlands Performance or Woodlands?
it was the Woodlands Mixed
Woodlands
Martial Arts.
MMA.
Yeah, Woodlands Mixed Martial Arts. This small room, literally maybe as big as a studio, a little bit bigger. I had a floor ring in there.
So it was palatial.
Yeah, I had a floor ring. I had a double end bag, a speed bag, and a heavy bag.
A floor like rope ring?
Yeah, rope ring.
Okay.
And that was it. 2 bathrooms.
that was the
and a
grappling
desk.
area, the striking area.
Everything.
The
So it-
restroom.
Yeah, 16 people in there, and I have I take down my bags because I have like just little matted area outside the ring to hit pads to. Take the bags down, pull the cords over to the sides to change so nobody gets hit, and I can have 2 groups on that mat and potentially 5 groups inside the ring. Wasn't big. I don't know, man. I tried to make this little boutique place like this really nice place. Like,
Intimate setting.
yeah, I'm rolling hand wraps every day. So my students, they come in there and the hand wraps are rolling. I'm rolling like now I can roll a hand wrap so fast, man. I roll a hand wrap in 20 seconds. You know? Because just doing it for thousands and thousands of times, and I got like it's crazy because I'm like I almost wish I didn't leave. Because it was small then, but I had all the moms I had a bunch of, like he'll tell you, I had a bunch of moms that would come in for my kickboxing classes, and then a bunch of guys who wanted to fight. We had a nice little squad. Remember Lane and those guys?
Yeah.
Lane Yarbrough?
Yeah,
Shit, yeah.
Todd Moore, I remember
Todd was
was
there.
around
Todd
he used
Moore.
to come in with his
guy.
Klein Forest wrestling singlet.
All
I'd
the
come in with
time.
my boxing shorts. It was like UFC 1 in there.
Yep.
So when did y'all meet Lewis Wood?
I met Lewis through Saul Solis.
That was around the same time, or?
It was a little bit after he had been there for a while. I met Lewis because Lewis was training with Saul for some Sancho stuff.
He was fighting?
He did. Lewis did at the
yeah.
end of his boxing career, because he wasn't getting any boxing fights, did some boxing versus Sanshao, where the Chinese kickboxers could do takedowns and stuff like that, and the boxers just box. Yeah. And Lewis was like the only one that would get wins. Everyone else was getting beat up.
Getting beat up. Like he would train with Saul, learn how to check kicks, and then when we started training together, learn how to defend takedowns and whatnot.
Lewis was a bad little fucker, man.
Bro, I spent I got hit so many times by Lewis. He was getting ready for some fights, and I was one of his main sparring partners for a while. It really, really helped me with my hands, man. I spent a lot of time with Lewis. We used to train every day, and
we used to go to Galena Park.
We used to go to
Boxing
Galena
Club.
Park. I used to take my guys down there. One funny story from Galena Park. We getting ready for the Golden Gloves and taking a bunch of the young guys that are training with me down there, and this 8-year-old goes up to Lewis and he asks Lewis a question. And Lewis just laughs. He chuckles. Go ask Yves. And this little 8-year-old kid walks up to me and goes, "Hey, Yves, is it illegal to throw body shots in your kind of fighting?" Because like all the guys are just headhunting. Yeah. This little 8-year-old is like, these guys aren't throwing any body shots, you know? So, but like we were going all the way down there from to Galena Park. That's what, an hour nearly, you know, from the Woodlands. So like we were taking like 8 guys down there with us, going down there, training with Kenny Weldon and Lewis Wood, and that like just training with Kenny was like a big deal. It really helped.
That was Lewis's coach?
Yeah, Kenny was Lewis's coach.
Rest in peace.
They have to travel from the Woodlands to Galena Park. You got to leave the Woodlands. You got to go to the hood to get a real fight.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing.
You can kind of see like the guys that came up with Lewis Wood era, like they kind of have similar style because he really implemented in like the jab and the parry and all that shit.
Rhythm.
Like, yeah, and the rhythm.
Yep.
Yeah, he was real big on rhythm and moving and shit.
That Willie Pep style, man.
And
it was great,
he
man.
understood
Time
boxing.
I was a little reluctant, but I was like, I had this Muay Thai fight. I took it short notice to fight this North American champion. It was in his home in Canada. And I called like 2 Muay Thai coaches. It was after I was on the U.S. team. So I called the U.S. coach, the assistant coach. Everybody was booked busy. Yves was busy. I was like, God, who am I? I was like, Lewis, I just know Lewis is hardcore boxing. Yves adapted him to MMA a little bit, you know. I was like, I just don't know what the culture and the Mongols and Muay Thai that Lewis is going to be down with that. So I took him up there, and I was like, all right, Lewis, so before the match, I'm going to go around the ring. I'm going to do a little thing, like a dance, whatever you want. I'm going to come back. And you got to take this monk off. And it's like, you're supposed to pray or whatever. Lewis just came over. He's like, all right, that's good. Just
So did he let you finish doing what you were doing?
did, yeah. And then at like in the corner, man, like he'll tell you, like he's just right there. Like, hey, and he's just like backhanding you right here. In
Right
chest.
in the center of your chest.
And I was like, man, you know what? I just can't lose with this guy. Like I'm scared to lose. So, I ended up pulling out the win. And I remember we were in the pub afterwards. It's like this basement pub at this hotel, and all the foreigner fighters were there. And I was like, I don't know if Lewis ain't a big drinker. All these Muay Thai people, and all of a sudden there's like this guy from England. He's like, oh, mate, there's a good guy here. He's a good guy, a real boxer. I'm like, look, Lewis, you like this? These Muay Thai people aren't so bad, are they? And like Lewis, like, yeah.
That's Lewis, man.
So what led you? You know, you started. You're in this gym with like MMA, got a little bit of everything, and you kind of stayed on that
striking.
Striking. Like what drew you to that?
Man, I'll tell you what was. He told me like, this is what, we can do all this with the MMA. You can do all this with the grappling. But Muay Thai, he goes, I'd recommend you go to Saxon in Dallas.
Yeah.
And I actually would just go up and do smokers up at Saxon's gym. And they were like fights back then. They weren't like, they were like, so he sent me up there. He wasn't able to make the first one. And it was like,
Lewis?
No, Yves sent me up there. And I remember he's like, "Nah, we'll get. I'll have Pete corner you." I was like, "Who's Pete?" And I like look up Pete. I'm like,
Pete Spratt?
Yeah, I'm like looking at that. I'm like watching
bring
Pete
Pete in.
beat up, all these people. I'm like, "Damn, I like this guy, Pete Spratt." And then, I had Pete Spratt corner me, and then like that night there was like, you had at any given time at his place he would have like legends there. There'd be like Tito Ortiz there. There would be Saul there.
At Saxon's?
Yeah, at these smoker
That was the
fights.
spot. Like,
At the smoker fights, there was.
You ever see Rich there
Boss
fight?
Rutan. What was the Maurice Smith was there?
Yeah. Shoot, remember Chidi when he was a kid?
Oh yeah,
Chidi and Jaquani, he was like, we knew him when he was like 8.
and I seen those guys kick. I was like, how come no one down in Houston can kick like this? I was like, I want to come up here. I used to drive up there all the time when I was in school and just train for the weekend and stuff. And then finally, when I got old enough, I'd go to.
I'm laughing because you talk about nobody in Houston kick like that, and I started thinking about Socks On. And Socks On used to call me. Tell them what Socks On used to call me.
He's like, so when I went to my first smoker, I didn't even have like real Thai trunks. He's like, what gym are you from? I was like, I'm from Eve. He goes, Thai Bo. I was like, what? He goes, yeah. No, he's good. I like him, Thai Bo. I was like, I couldn't put it together. But then
Thai Bo?
He said he called him, because he had his head shaved. He called
Billy Banks! Billy Banks in the house.
Socks On. He goes, and then so Pete and I we fought on the UFC 33 and a half. And
Y'all fought each other?
no, we fought. We did fight each other before that, but we were cool. We were friends at this point, training together. And Socks On was out there with us. So Saul was in my corner, and Socks On was in Pete's corner. And anyway, that's when I got my first UFC win. Right, head kick, knockout. And I come back to the locker room, and Socks On goes, "Hey, you kick it like a Taibo too." Socks On was awesome. He's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
Thai Bo.
So I just went up there and I just started learning more and more about Muay Thai and realized I was like, I didn't know shit, I'd done these smokers, I'd done these regional things, and that was when I was like, right after college, I went to Thailand for my first time, and that was all she wrote. I just wanted to stay in Muay Thai. I enjoyed training with them. I'd always make up some excuse about the grappling part, but I like doing I love doing the MMA like drills that we used to do, like where like my job was only to go in and beat up the MMA fighter and defend a takedown.
Yeah.
And like I used to have a really good sprawl back then. I was like, yeah, this is cool. I like this part. Like okay, now you're gonna be on the back and you got to get up. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
Fuck that.
Yeah, we used to do this thing called the drill that Jace would set up for the fights, and he would give you like a fresh guy every minute or every something, so you get the grappler that's just trying to take you down, you got to defend. Then you'd be fucking dog shit tired, and you'd be like, all right, Corley, go get him. He fucking striking and kicking and punching, and even like once you were super fucking tired, if Lewis was there, then Lewis would get in there,
just finish you off.
oh bro, and he would start beating your ass.
That's what we used to do, man. We used to me and Saul, we developed the drill. And we used to
that
call
was
it the
amazing.
drill, right?
We used to call it the drill.
And
Salsa Lee.
we used to like literally it would be like Lewis for me. Like I would do 10, like I was getting ready for Pride. I would run a 10-minute rep of the drill, because the first round of Pride was 10 minutes. Yeah. So I'm going for 10 minutes, and this was a fun story with one time with Jeff Messina. We were in the Revolution and Revolution on Pinemont, right? Yeah. So we're running the drill, and Jeff is he's the jiu-jitsu guy who has to take me down, right? And at one point he takes me down, real clean takedown, slams me, and I get a little pissed off. Right, so like I run the rotation. I get up from underneath John Rarden. He was the boxer on top punching, and then I take down somebody else, and then I'm supposed to defend the takedown with Jeff. And Jeff was trying to press me, put me in the corner. I'm stiff arming, trying to get the angle, and I just rip a body shot, and I'm just like, sorry, Jeff. And I just walk away. Like, I ripped the body shot, and I knew I was going to hit him hard, and he just goes down. And I'm apologizing as the punch hits him.
I'm just sorry for this.
Sorry, Jeff. And I just walk away. I just move on to the next guy.
So good.
I sat him down with that one.
You know who else was pretty good was Lewis's brother, Lawrence.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he used to get in there and throw
He
hands.
used to have
and shit
that.
too.
He used to come around a lot at the.
He was younger than Lewis, right?
That Steel Fitness.
Yes.
That one that was on like 1960.
Kirkendall.
Yeah.
On Kirkendall.
He just had. It was like a weightlifting gym, and there was just a cage right in the middle of his.
That was my
weight
first
room.
training session with Lewis and
Okay.
Todd Moore. Jay sent me over there when I was getting ready for like my first fight, and he
It's
was
over there
like,
between 1960 and Cypresswood, right?
"Yeah."
I know
He's like, "Hey,
exactly
go to
where
this
that is,
place,
dude.
Steel Fitness. I can't make it tonight, but you go over there." So I fucking went over there thinking, all right, I'll be all right. And man, fucking Todd whooped my ass.
That's
for
the
like,
hood, homie.
And then Lewis got in there and whooped my ass. And then I went back the next day, and Lewis was like, "Oh, you came back, eh?"
Yeah.
It's like,
Lewis used to be infamous for like he had a guy who's getting ready. I was getting the better of him, and so in the restaurant he's talking to the guy, but he's beating me up in the restaurant. And he's like, "See, this is what you got to be doing. Turn off the angle here." Blah, 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 blah. I was like, and then the bell was like, "Ding, ding, ding." Round 2, and he's like, "Now go in there." I'm like, "I didn't rest."
yeah, that was it, man.
Get your ass back in there. Do what I said.
So if you look at like the culture, what it is now versus what it was, like what are y'all's thoughts? Like,
I love Lewis, but it's like there's stuff now that's like he's not good for group classes. Let's just say, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of the old school people that aren't good for group classes.
yeah.
It's like
Not good for making money for the facility.
yeah, like so.
Get out of here, you pussy. Get your pussy ass out of here.
Lewis is hard, man.
Yeah, Lewis will tell you. He'll tell you just like that, man.
I think a lot of even like Yves, a lot of people from that era had to change how they teach class because like Yves has a pro group in the mornings, and then he has a evening group that has a mix of, you know, amateurs, pros, beginners, everything. But you know, you got to change it up just a little bit. Same for anything, like anyone that says, "Oh, we do our Muay Thai just like it is," like, man, get out of here, man. Then you ain't got no students. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
I train my Muay Thai people or the MMA people I do striking with differently than I do a group class.
You have to
because-
adapt.
Yeah.
100%. We
It's got to be something for everybody. You got to also advance everybody. So some people enjoy having, you know, getting yelled at and screamed, and then some people are like,
a lot of people, most people can't take it. They don't like it.
Yeah,
They,
I'm not.
we like back in the day, we call it the red gym because like I painted everything red, you know. But back then, like the rule was like we used to have these hard rounds, and people were like, "I think I'm gonna throw up," and it's like, well, then you know the rules. Like the rules was if you throw up, you go get the bucket, you clean it up, and finish your round. It's like, you know, it's not like that anymore. It's like now if people feel sick, you gotta give them a safe space.
I
And
think,
sit
I
on the
think
side.
too.
Oh
at
yeah,
that-
it's
at
way
that-
different these days.
Oh man,
we
don't
have
get
any
me
safe
started.
spaces. We had- at that time, you
The
know,
world is soft.
it was the gyms were less concerned. They were less concerned with making money as they were with producing fighters.
You know how
Talent.
much? You know how much my UFC purses and hook and shoot purses went into my gym. Man, it's
Well,
ridiculous.
Maybe not all of them. So,
80%.
but like there wasn't this. I feel like they didn't look at it as a business outside of like if they got a really good fighter,
Goddamn,
then that
Eve.
was their new source of business. That was their new source of income. Versus the majority of it was hard. You tried to come in. You had to really want to be there every fucking
it's
day.
like one of the, I think, leaders, or what I consider one of them in Houston, is like Travis, and him running it like
yeah.
a business,
Travis
him
Took.
being a legitimate martial artist, but also running, you know, a program for everyone. And I remember when I came over there to teach, he's like, "You know how many people come in here and ask about you and Andrew and the UFC?" I was like, "I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 a week." One in a year. It's like,
Yeah.
no one's ever asked about Andrew fighting in the UFC. I was like, "What about when we beat Lieben?" He's like, "No,
No one, yeah.
Not even that.
Travis,
Not even that.
no."
Travis has saved my own personal gyms multiple times just through phone calls.
Yeah.
Just through phone calls with me going, "Hey, we're doing this and this and this." He goes, no one cares about that. He's like, do you have a class for this? I'm like, I don't. He goes, well, do that. I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
Like,
Travis
makes
is
more
very
sense.
savvy
He's
on
so
that
smart.
stuff, man.
He's such a businessman.
so
He's a great
smart.
fighter, but such a businessman.
Travis is he's really
He'll whoop your ass.
bro. Like
Dude.
so.
Do you remember
So-
when we did
Whoop your ass and
that,
make that money.
we used to do this. When we used to go in like the groups to Yves fights, and it carried over to Andrew's fights like years later. And you'd be like, Travis would be like, "All right, Irish, I'm gonna do 30 seconds to 1 minute of striking with you, and you're gonna do a 5-minute grappling round with me." I'm like, okay. And I go in there and I do all right, whatever. I never do it. And he would. I never knew how like the levels of it, like literally immediate taps. Tap, tap, tap. Then crucifix me and smack me on my head. I'm like, God. I was like,
I never understood him. I never understood
Travis is
Travis's
ridiculously
grappling.
good. It's
Yeah.
ridiculously good. Like
Yeah.
I have really good back defense.
Yeah.
And like I'm like I got Travis's arm here, I got the other one trapped here, and he's still choking me. It's like, how does that make sense?
It was
Yeah.
one arm.
Like the first so this is how it happened. This is how I met Travis. Solis reached out to Travis's old coach and tried to get us together. This is
Who was that,
like-
Alvis?
Yeah, this is like 2000, right? 2001, and like it comes back like Saul's like, yeah, we can't train with that guy. They want us to pay, and there's no money, right? And it's
Right.
like, and I'm like, all right, cool. And then Tim Crater moves down, as I meet Tim Crater at a fight in Louisiana, and he's like, yeah, I want to come down and train with you guys. I'm like, I don't know the guy. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And then I watch him fight. I'm like, oh man, you can fight. Yeah, if you want to come down anytime. So he's like, yeah, this kid Travis took. I was like, yeah, I know that dude.
Who says-
Travis is a brown belt.
Tim's telling you that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Travis is a brown belt at the time. Like, yeah, I know that dude. He wanted me to pay him like so much to train me, and I'm like, I know he's good, but I'm gonna show that guy what's up when he comes in here. Travis comes in and he's cool and whatnot. And we start training. We're going, and I'm like, I just had 2 UFC fights. Travis gets my back, and I'm like, Matt Serra and Kaoru Uno on my back, and I'm like, get off. I just peel him
No
off.
worries.
So I'm like Travis on my back. I'm like, all right, he's on. All right. I start standing up, and I'm doing the same thing I did with those guys. I stand up with Travis. I swim the arm across, and I trap it, and I'm reaching. I can reach down to like hip toss him off. And as I reach down, I'm standing up. I reach down, and I'm tapping to an armbar while I'm standing. I'm still standing.
Damn.
Like, how the
What the
this is
hell
in
just happened?
2001.
This is a brown belt, Travis.
It's brown belt Travis,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, it's ridiculous. And like he was a real nice guy, and I was like, man, hey, I was gonna try to show you what's up, but like your jiu-jitsu is really good, man. I can't front. And he was like, but like I really didn't appreciate that about And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, you wanted us. I was like, no, I never even knew about this. I never heard about any of this, right? So like ever since then, like Travis has been my right hand man. He's been like, for jiu-jitsu, like I've learned some things from a lot of other people, but like 80+% of my jiu-jitsu comes from Travis Took.
He gave you your black belt.
He was the first guy here that like I've been really lucky between the military and my other jobs to travel around a lot and train just wherever. But he was the first guy when I got here in Houston. I was training. And I was like, "How fucking heavy are you?" It makes no sense that first of all, I didn't realize I didn't even have a guard because you were past that shit quickly, and all of a sudden he's so heavy. And I remember, like, I talk shit when I'm rolling. I just like to talk. It's the only way I can breathe. I'm fucking old fat. I'm like trying to breathe here. And he was politely tapping me.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, Travis, what do you weigh? He's like, I don't know.
Are you ready? Are you ready to end this?
Dude, I'm just like, come on, man.
It's ridiculous how good he is. It's like I've known Travis for 20 years. I've rolled with him since he was a brown belt.
Wow.
I've tapped Travis maybe 14 times. 100% of those were during fight week. I've never tapped Travis when he didn't want me to.
I
Tap.
don't think I've ever even got him in a bad spot. Like, I don't think
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
right.
Like,
it's like I celebrate when I pass his guard.
Yeah.
Like that's like I
I
did
mean, there's
something
been
there.
times where he's got a pulled groin or a hurt arm, and I was like, I can't even tell the dude's fucking hurt.
Yeah.
Like, he's still.
Yeah,
He's
he's
so
got, and he's
strong,
got
too.
freakish, like, his strength and pressure for a guy. He's not a big guy. Like, he's what's he, like,
walks around 180,
average
170,
size,
like,
average height.
Now, he's not this massive guy, but
Right.
when he grabs you, you're just like, what the fuck is this?
Who is this
Like,
giant
what
that
is
has a hold of
what
me?
is this gorilla in a man suit like,
Yeah.
grabbing you for? So, yeah, and like as you said, he helps everyone. There's so many facilities and people that he has helped over the years that probably never give him any credit. I'll say now, like, my gym would have closed multiple times if it wasn't just for phone calls with him and encouragement.
Yeah.
And he didn't, not a dime. He goes, hey man, let me just take some time.
Man, Travis, I remember when Travis, and like, look at where he is now, right? Look at what he's built. Like, I remember when he used to be like, why don't you come over and train? And I'd go over to his dad's garage,
Yeah.
you know? And it was like, hey, Travis, I got to use the bathroom. He's like, yeah, it's right down the hall, make a left. And I'm like, I had to walk by the snake, you know? Get a pet snake in there. I'm just like, bro, this is trippy, man. Yeah. But like now, like, and then he moved into that little church, and then moved into the bigger place next
That's
door.
when I started training with him at that church.
At the church?
07.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a while back, man.
The Met? Was it the Met?
It's on Bama North Houston.
That was the
Okay.
one at the judo club.
Yep.
Yep.
Right there. Because I lived growing up, I lived in that neighborhood right behind there.
Huh.
So my little brother actually started training with Travis first when he was in high school. I went to Klein Forest High School right down the street. So my little brother found
Gangsta.
Travis first.
Isn't that where Todd went?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was older than Todd though. I think he graduated in like
you're
04
really old. You're old
or
as
something. I'm 41. He's 51.
Okay.
Always.
So
Eric Garcia, KF, Klein Forest
Klein
Eagles,
Forest,
the
man.
Golden Eagles, yeah.
So you know, you guys both, your roots are kind of here in Houston and Texas as you've grown out, and now you guys are leading the pack with.
Y'all got some
students and
studs.
teachers and
We've
fighters
come back
coming in.
together.
Yeah, we got back together. It's crazy because like some unfortunate things happen and then some great things happen. You know, during the pandemic, I was like literally I was in flux. I was kind of floating. Right before the pandemic, my lease in LA was up, and the PFL season started, and I'm like, all right, I'm putting my stuff in storage, and I'll figure it out after the season's over. Visit my mom, visit my girl. And my girl and I got super serious. We got married.
Hell yeah.
The
Congrats, man.
Thank you, man. And we had a baby. The pandemic happened, right? And like I'm just like all my stuff is in LA. We're in DC. And I'm just kind of sitting around like, shoot, there's nothing to do. Like I don't have a community here. So like this pandemic is going on and there's nothing to do. There's no work. I'm training with Lloyd Irving and those guys are good. But there's nothing to be done around here. You can't, like, we're just training together when we can. There's no place open. And up there, they were, like, really strict about COVID. You can't do this. You can't be anywhere. You can't be outside.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, it was so
Don't
stupid.
Get me started.
And then I moved down. I was like, I got to get out of here. I'm going to go down to Georgia. They're doing films down there. So we moved down to Georgia for a little bit. And we'll figure out if we want to stay there or if we want to go to Houston. And nothing's going on in Georgia. The studios want you to have the vaccine. And I'm just like, I don't know if I trust y'all, man. I don't know. Like, so I just leave it alone. And then I decided I'm coming back to Houston. And then when I, like, right around that, actually I came down to visit. And Corley brought me down for a seminar. And I'm like, man, look at all these students you got. Like, I'm proud of you, you know? And then
We
was
just
like,
didn't give a fuck.
right? Well, yeah,
Take
right?
me to Texas.
But no, my pride, like that too. But my pride was just in the size of the place that he built, you know, and the people that showed up, and I was like, man, I think I'm moving back to Texas, and he's like, man, you really? Because like Becca and Oliver, they want to get into mixed martial arts, and I want to help them do that, and I got a bunch of people here, and I'm like, shoot, I want to do that, and Saul had just passed, and
Heartbreaker.
like 'cause, like Saul is like we go back with Saul, and I come down here and I just run into Adrian at a UFC, and he's like, you know what, like, you know, Saul doesn't really care for anybody, but like you and Corley, he only has good things to say about, you know. And we're looking for someone.
Y'all were his guys,
And,
man.
Yeah, and so like we were just like, yeah, man, anytime you want to work out, let's do something. And then a few weeks later, like he came by, he worked out with Corley, worked out with me, and it just kind of happened. Like we weren't planning on starting to build a team, but that's how it happened. You know, those guys started showing up. Rafiana moved down here. Cameron and Adrian and those guys started coming and working out with us. They started bringing more of their guys, and then it
y'all
just
got a
kinda
full
happened.
house now. What days are y'all doing those MMA practices?
We're at Heritage on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then on Tuesday and Thursday we're at O and at Travis's.
Okay.
Man, I can tell you, like, you know, my team goes out there and cross trains with you guys often, and it's awesome to have like this amazing, just like knowledge base somewhere else for them to go. That's not like your coach every day.
Top shelf knowledge base, man.
Oh man, it's like they came back. Like Josh Alemon goes out there and trains with you guys, and he'll come back and he goes, "Oh, you said this, or Corley said this." I'm like, "Fucking do that then."
Do what they said.
Shit sounds like a good idea
Yeah.
to me.
Sounds
You
great.
know? I'm like, what am I supposed to say? Yeah, dude, that sounds fucking perfect. You know, so it's cool to see how you guys, you know, went from fighting and learning together to now like running this team and these people, and people want that knowledge that you guys have, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. With Corley, it was like, it's one of those things where it's like he was a kid when I first met him. He came in and and it was like always he was a talented striker, you know. And then he went off and he did a lot more Muay Thai. And at one point he came to Austin when I was living in Austin. He came to Austin to help Tim Kennedy out.
Wow.
And it was like walking to the gym and I see Corley and I'm just like, Irish, what are you doing here? You know? And he has all his gloves and everything. And I'm like, he's like, we all moving around, we're rotating, and I get in there with Irish and I'm like, all right, this kid's growing up and like we're gonna move around.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, holy shit, bro! Don't beat me up. Like his Muay Thai had changed so much. And he was setting me up with different things. Like he was just like doing this. There's one thing that he did to me. Like he was touching up with the gloves, both of them, and he just drilled me with this knee. And I was like, I didn't recognize it. I didn't see it.
Where is that coming from?
And I'm just like, I'm doing that from now on. I'm doing that now. So it's just like it was just a different thing. So like that's one of the things too. Like our boxing. The lineage is pretty much the same. Like I was going to Savannah's and everything also, and then I started with Lewis, and then when he did the same thing, and then when I met Lewis, he started training with Lewis, and but then he just continued with Muay Thai and whatnot. So it's like I defer to him often. Like when it comes to boxing and whatnot, we're on the same page. Like
Y'all still
literally
do like all the Lewis Wood warm ups?
We do some line
100%,
drills.
yeah, we do line drills. We're 100% in line when we talk about boxing. And then I defer to him especially when it comes to adding kicks and stuff like that to it. And then he just throws it back to me when we were talking about transitioning from combinations to takedowns and takedown defenses and things like that. But and then for the rest of the mixed martial arts game, we just like, of course, that's my side of things. But like getting back to the feet and tying up and clinching, man. Like I really like how we're putting stuff together, and we're working on putting our stuff together in a real, true package for everyone. You know.
Yeah,
for
you know,
everyone.
like you know, Corley changed the way that we hold like pads at our facility because, to be fair, we fucking sucked at it. We got like, you know, it's just wrestling, jiu-jitsu. That's all I've done most of my life. So I'm like, if I can hit this,
Hold them up.
Great, but there was no like reason for what we were doing. You know, and so we did. I don't know how many years ago it was. We did when your former facility.
Yeah.
We did some like instructor training and stuff, and then just kind of stuck together doing that, and it really did change, like just how we work with our own student base as to like why we're holding the pads. Why
Every
are we doing it
movement
this
has a
way?
meaning.
Yeah, and it became less of like what basically felt like a cardio.
work.
Yeah, it felt like a cardio bullshit to like, hey, this needs to be a fight.
It needs to be a
man. Like,
defense and
and-
then advance.
And you know, I can tell you personally, man, like you helped change like our entire culture of what we do with our fighters, and that's, I mean, it's shown over the last few years. Like you're what you've helped us with.
I appreciate it.
Did you even know that and then brag on it?
When I did MMA group, we had an MMA group at Travis's. Eric was there and at that time, and every Friday I would run like a striking thing, and we'd have like all the people from Houston get together. And when I think Andrew and I stopped working together in like 2013, and I think at that time a lot of stuff was, you know, MMA fighters were going to movement coaches, and I'm going to this for that, I'm going for that for this. I'm like, you know what, man, fuck MMA. And I was like, I didn't mess with any MMA fighters from 2013 all the way to 2020. And everybody was just like, yeah, Corley's just on some Muay Thai shit, man. Don't he's like that angry old guy. Don't go with it. And the only person that like I would talk to in like the MMA community was Saul. Saul would always come over and shoot the shit and talk shit. Like I love talking with Saul because we were on that same
man.
shit talking.
So good.
You ever seen that guy, man?
Saul Solis.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
God damn. We got a lot of love for Saul Solis on the podcast here.
When we were on the pandemic, he was like, I'm not doing this. I'm shutting my shit down. I'm shutting my shit down before all this stuff because I'm not taking a lot. And he was smart on that. And then he reopened it. Oh, he's like, I'm right down the street, but man, I don't. I was like, Saul, you could open up right next door to me. I'm not gonna say anything. You're the Godfather, man.
Fucking
You
man,
can do
dude,
everything.
like.
And but yeah, he got me back into wanting to be doing stuff in the MMA community again. So
I'm drunk, so I'm emotional, dude. We're talking about Saul right now.
Well, I remember
and he's talking about that time
when
frame,
we did
man.
the training with you.
Yeah.
There would be parts where, like, you transition this curve, like, I don't give a fuck about that. Listen, niggas, come back over here. And he's like, you literally didn't care about anything. Because, you clinch, that's great. Take that. I don't give a shit anymore. Like, let's go back over to here. I'm like, all right, that's fine, man.
I love, Saul used to come by and, he's like, if you want to put this into your, kids' curriculum, you should do this. And we're bouncing stuff because, like, I feel like he was like one of the OGs, like people I respect. There wasn't Yves here anymore. There wasn't a lot of people that were like from that era.
You ain't
and
lying.
So Saul used to come by. We go eat Thai food and just talk shit. And now it's cool to be working with some of those
lineage.
guys.
He had that lineage from way back up until modern day. Even guys like Adrian Yanez, Cameron Smotherman, like he's got that lineage.
I don't
He's
know
been
if
around
people
forever.
understand how helpful and how much knowledge Saul had and who Saul worked. Saul was never the guy. So this is one of the things that I appreciated, love, and aspire to be like when it comes to Saul. Saul was never the guy who was like, the camera's on, this is my guy.
Right.
Saul was always in the background just chilling, but he was
Word.
always about you working, right? And it's like, if
He wanted his guys to get the glory. It wasn't
my thing.
about him.
That's the thing. That's the thing I learned from Saul, man. It's like if I want to be in the spotlight, I got to make sure it shines so bright that it bounces onto me. I'm not trying to stand in it's your spotlight, and if I can help you shine brighter, then that's gonna help. That's fine. But Saul was never one to try to be in that space, and I appreciate that, man. He was always about you being better and getting the best out of you, and he didn't have shit to say. I remember I was in a fight in the UFC, and it was just like he was like Lewis was like really, really adamant about do this and stay on your feet and do it in this way and this way and this way. And Saul was just like, Yves is not a boxing fight. This is MMA. And that was all he had to say. That was it. And I was able to turn it on, open up, drop
Saul
the guy.
and Lewis were cornered together?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Wow.
I had them in the corner together like a few times, like 2 or 3 times. And yeah, it was.
I could see
A
that.
happy corner for you back there.
Who do you listen to, right?
Dude,
Shut the fuck up. Listen.
Hey, who should I listen to, Lewis or Saul?
Was that?
Who should I listen to, Lewis or Saul?
Like we're doing MMA.
Depends on the type of fight we got going on.
I know, right?
Gotta listen to Saul.
I would listen to Lewis while the exchanges were going on, and then I would listen to
It's all
Saul when it was time to put
all
it.
Saul.
Yeah.
Man, it's cool to see when, obviously when Saul passed, there were so many stories that maybe you just didn't even realize of how many people he touched in this community and
That's what I'm saying.
100%.
Like when I talk about the guys, I'm talking about Tito,
Man.
Coleman, Kerr,
Yeah.
Randleman, me,
He took
Pete
me down.
Spratt,
That was my first time to
Melvin,
see
Diego
Saul.
Sanchez,
Saul partnered me with Kevin Randleman.
Adrian.
We've
For a
got
grappling
so much
exercise.
love for
Cyborg.
Saul Solis on this
Cyborg.
podcast.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do?
If you got any Saul stories, speak on them because we got a lot of love for him on this podcast.
Yeah, man.
man, I remember the first time somebody from my team beat somebody from
Rico
Saul's gym,
Rodriguez.
and I remember him like cursing, piece of shit.
Of course.
And then he's like, I'd known him for a few years at that point. He's like, hey, congratulations. Give me a hug. And I was like,
Of course, yeah.
it's the greatest moment of fucking life.
Yeah,
you know?
man.
I
It's
remember
like,
I
dude,
fought one of Saul's
it's
guys
like a
at the
chess
House of
match.
Blues.
Yeah.
I fought this kid at the House of Blues and I beat him. And after the fight, Saul was like, "This is fucking bullshit."
Piece of shit.
Like, I got fucked.
Hey, that was the same night. That was the same night my guy won. It was Raul Rodriguez. beat one of his guys at House of Blues.
I was like,
And like you couldn't
bastard.
win. You couldn't fucking win. Like I was
bullshit.
yeah, he's like, you guys, he's like, that's
Fucking
shitty,
meathead.
shitty shit. I'm like, all right, you're right. Okay, well,
All right, so
you're the best.
The Renegades tournaments, man, it's all
Dude.
put on.
did you ever fight for Renegades?
I
couple
fought
times,
two
right?
Renegades. I won two Renegades tournaments for Saul. It's crazy because like my first Renegades fight was against Pete Spratt.
Okay.
And it's crazy because
Ooh,
like
nice.
we became friends, and we were cool after that. And it was like I would stand across the ring from him when we were training in the red gym, and I would be like, I can't believe I fought this dude because he was jacked. Pete was just a big
right,
dude,
yeah.
right?
He was jacked
But,
back in the day.
Like
It's
nobody
so-
fat.
so-
Still a
He's
good
still
friend
pretty
of mine.
jacked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
he
funny. I was told both of Saul's tournaments that I fought in, I won them both the same way. First match triangle choke, second match head kick knockout.
Awesome.
And then one of them, I had to fight twice in one night against two guys who only had to fight me because one guy didn't show up for the tournament, so like we drew straws, and so I had to fight Bone Sayavanga, and I triangled him, and then I had to fight this dude from up north. I forget his name,
Yeah, it
but
doesn't
Mo
matter.
Lual was in his corner.
This wasn't sanctioned or was?
It was.
Yeah, that was like,
But they let you
no,
fight.
hey.
was that 98, 99?
King Mo
Yeah,
was in his
that was
like
corner.
98,
So
99,
nice.
right?
That was
Yeah,
no,
that
that
was-
was early like
Early 2000,
yeah,
maybe?
because
Was it?
I was
Was it
going
that
to
late?
those because it was when it was the Verizon.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
that
Verizon where
one
John-
was at Verizon.
John Kirk was fighting on those already?
Yep.
Wasn't
I used to go to all those, man.
Tony Orozco fought on some of those early on
That-
too.
yeah,
I think
that
he was
is-
a
He
little
used
bit-
to
he
corner
might have
a
been
bunch of
04.
guys.
He might have been close to like 04, 05.
Like the first Renegades I fought in was in on Richmond at that club. I think City
Stereo
Streets,
Live or City,
City
Streets.
City Streets,
Yeah.
something, yeah. So that was my first time.
Then he went
That's
to
when Pete and
Verizon.
I fought.
Once he went to the Verizon, it got big.
It got big.
Yeah, he got
it
that
was packed.
Toyota.
He did Young
sponsor
Guns
and-
there too.
Yeah, he did Young Guns there.
Oh,
Yeah, he
see,
did.
I was gone by then.
Yes, he did Young Guns, and that's when like I remember the first Young Guns I went to was like Patrick Bierschwal and Craig Gardner and Terrence Ferguson, like all these guys out of West Side MMA at that time.
That was
Like,
later 2000s, though.
That was like
08.
2008, 2008,
Yeah,
something like
that's
that.
08,
Yeah.
09. So
Yeah.
you fought for tons of organizations, small, big. Is the UFC the best organization you ever fought for? Would you say that? Or do you have better experiences like in some of the smaller ones before you went to the UFC?
Man, I wouldn't say I had better experience. Definitely different.
Who paid you the most?
Right?
That don't have nothing. Well, that has something to
Hey,
do
that's
with
got
it.
something to do with Hey, if you ask Eve,
It does
that's
help
something
with
to do
the
with it.
experience.
it definitely helps with the
Yeah, but I feel
experience.
like they could cut you a check and treat you like shit the whole way up.
Yeah,
Of course
then
they
they're
could,
like,
but, hey,
no,
Then they cut you loose. See ya.
right?
What was it? What was it like at the Pride? I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Pride was just different, man. That was so much fun. Because they gave you a handler, right? So remember when we went to go
You
eat?
hear that, Diego?
So they gave you a handler at Pride, and
Handler.
this guy, I remember him. I still am Facebook friends with him. Go Oringa, and
Is he your boy?
he's my boy, man. I love Go. He's cool as shit. And we were in Japan, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, Lewis Wood is with me at the time. Lewis Wood, Tim Crater, and Irish, and I'm like, man, I gotta get myself a Kobe steak while we're here, you know. And for Pride, here's the thing. This is awesome.
Pride
would give
pays
you-
for Kobe steak?
no, so Pride. Here's what they did.
I'm seeing
they
where this
give,
is
They
going.
give the fighter 50,000 yen, like $500, right? And then they give
No,
him
it's still
also
50,000.
250, like 25,000 yen for
Yeah.
two corners, right? But it's like I'm making 160 pounds and I'm cutting weight, so I'm not really eating.
You're not really eating that much.
For most of the week, and I'm like, I gotta have a Kobe steak. And my guys, I give them a few $100. They get their food for the week, and we're hanging out. We still have probably like $700 left. And Go finds this place, and he goes, oh, Eva-san, I found your place, but it's really expensive. And I'm like, Pride's paying for it, man.
Yeah.
So we go to this place, and we get like a 5-course meal. And
Did you get a massage?
did you go? Did you come?
No, but I have a really, really funny story if it's that same night.
We
He was walking
Alright,
on the
I'll lay
out.
Shibuya
I'll lay out.
and Shinjuku again.
we had everything. They had like we got appetizers, we had foie gras, and then that Lewis. So Lewis is like, I'm not paying $200 for a steak, and blah blah, you know. And then he's like, we go there, and he finally has like, don't worry about it, Lewis. Like, Pride is paying for it. I'm gonna hook you up. And he goes, he eats the steak. He's like, my goodness, this is the best thing ever. It just melts in your mouth. You like how Lewis is, right?
Yeah.
And Lewis has this. So guys, like when we talk about Lewis Wood, everybody gets that deep raspy voice when they talk about Lewis. But like he's like 5'6", fought 126 pounds.
And he will rip your body, boy.
And he'll beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we all get that deep voice, and I imagine people picture this like big giant like Texas boy. But like he's not a big man, but like he's a big personality. But like I don't know what story Irish is gonna tell about.
No, we went
that night.
out afterwards. They were like every fighter had their handler, and we ran into some in the street, and there was Crazy Horse Bennett out there. He loved Japan, and he was having some fun.
Eve immediately he remembered,
And like
Eve remembered.
And these people out in the street that have like these like hustler dudes, these Nigerian dudes, they were like, oh. They were like pointing at them. They knew that they fought in pride. Like, man, please, this would be an honor to come into our place. Blah blah blah. And then like we're all like, no, we just ate. We're good. And Crazy Horse is like, nah, motherfuckers, we gotta go in there. And they're like, so like, what are we gonna do? It's a club. Like we just ate. We can't. We're fighting in the next day or whatever, you know.
Yep.
And the guy's like, man, I got hookah for you guys. And we're like, man, we ain't doing no hookah. Crazy Horse is like, yeah, give me that hookah.
Y'all wanted the real weed, right?
He wanted all of it.
Yeah, so
I want the real shit.
Yeah.
Nothing
Crazy Horse
hookah.
fought out there.
Crazy Horse for
on the
The
hookah.
dude was crazy, man.
And so after
Straight up.
he like upset this Japanese up and coming guy, knocked him out in the first round.
Crazy
And,
Horse did?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like
then
real
after
quick.
the fight, we're on the bus and they're like handing out checks and money and all that kind of stuff. And I remember they came up and like whoever was with Crazy Horse, I don't know if it was his coach or what. And the dude's like, he's like, excuse me, he didn't fail his drug test. And they're like,
He failed his drug test?
We're not gonna pay him. He's like, oh no. He's like,
Oh,
don't
shit.
tell him. He'll. Yeah.
Now's not the
on the
time.
bus. Y'all motherfuckers better pay me.
Yeah.
I ain't do no drugs, motherfucker. They fucked up my hookah. Oh, shit. Damn. And I was like, oh man.
Did they pay him?
I don't know.
I hope so.
I don't
Hey,
know,
that dude
man.
was he was crazy as hell, man.
Crazy Horse. I trained with him in Georgia a couple months ago, like a year and a half ago. And yeah, he's still going. He's fighting in Masvidal's show.
Oh, is he?
That boxing
Yeah, he fought.
one?
No, the MMA.
Oh, the bare
knuckle
knuckle
MMA.
yeah.
So he fought on that. I think he fought Rob Emerson, but I don't remember for sure.
How recent was that?
At least a year ago.
Yeah, he's got close to like
That's a
100 fights
tale.
now.
That's a tale for upcoming fighters. Like, I mean, if you're hanging out like at a hookah bar,
Never go to a hookah bar before the fight.
That's
hey,
crazy.
if
but
you got a
they
fight
just
coming
they just
in the next couple of
implemented drug
days,
testing
maybe just
Here
hang out. Don't
in
like
Texas,
partake,
like,
right?
the last 5-6 years, maybe it
Yeah.
got serious because when you were doing Renegade and stuff, they weren't drug tested.
Nah,
right?
I don't remember ever.
And
getting
my
drug
first,
tested in Renegades.
probably my first 10 shows, they weren't drug testing shit.
The thing about
And when you're at a
the Crazy
hookah
Horse
bar,
thing,
you're not
though-
expecting that either. You're thinking
Yeah.
whatever.
But
So
the Crazy Horse
you
thing
don't
is- Crazy Horse
know.
I
thing is
think
whack
they only.
because-
I think they drug tested him because he upset their guy.
Yeah.
And they didn't want that to go.
But like,
on
remember
the
the pride contract was whack though, because it said this on the contract. I really wish I still had a copy of it. But it said you will be tested for cocaine, heroin, and other barbiturates. Right, and then the very next line, all block capital letters, you will not be tested for steroids. This was on the pride contract.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So you could do steroids.
So you're allowed to do steroids, pretty much. I mean.
That's
Pride-
why Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
Hey, don't get me started on steroids, okay? I mean, like I mean, I'm just saying, like from a fan's perspective, people don't care. Like, okay, I'll use the home run race as like a barometer.
Man, if you want to see the biggest, baddest athletes,
People
like,
don't care.
I'm not an advocate for steroids, but I'm
No,
like,
of course not.
if y'all want to conduct a science experiment and start like a steroid league and see like how big and strong and fast humans can get, go ahead. But
Let's do it. That's what I'm saying.
But like everybody's got
average
either
fan-
everybody has to be doing it or nobody has to be doing
Your
it. 'Cause you
average
can't-
fan
you
doesn't
can't have
give a
guys do
shit
it.
if they're hitting 500-foot home runs or like putting out these 30-second knockouts. They don't care as long as they don't know. But if you tell them, hey, you should know and you should care, then they're gonna go, oh shit, steroids. Oh no, you shouldn't do that. There's a place.
the playing
for-
field is even, right?
Right,
As long
that's
as
it.
as
The
long as the
playing
playing
field
field
is
is even. But
gotta
there's
be.
a
Pride
place
did that.
for it in professional
Right?
It's in the
athletics.
contract.
As long as it's all kept within a certain parameter. But I mean, if you got like Joe Smith over here that is like, just doing push-ups. And then you got this guy over here that's doing steroids. Okay, yeah, that may not be an even fight, but maybe Joe Smith shouldn't be in the fucking league. All right, that's all I'm saying.
I mean, he had a chance to get steroids. He should have got some.
Exactly. Welcome back, Rich Burmaster.
Hey, that piss break brought to you by Howlerhead Whiskey. Make sure you get that monkey spirit in you.
Woo! Who needs a refill?
Hey, while we're doing
like
this,
third, fourth
while we're
refill.
doing these
You're way
refills, a big shout out to some of our sponsors, guys. Space City Collective, the place to go and get your kicks up. Eric, what you got on today?
Oh, rocking the threes, baby.
Ooh, rocking the threes.
Retro
We got those Retro One Starfish going on today over here.
I'm wearing my daddy Skechers
Wayne's got some
today.
dude shoes, evidently. I don't know.
I'm wearing dad shoes today.
Wayne's
They're very
wearing
comfortable,
Wayne's
but I didn't
wearing
get these from
crawfish
Space City
boots,
Collective.
and Diego has on flip flops.
Although my 4s, my 5s, my 3s, my 1s, they're all from Space City Collective. I just didn't wear them today.
Make sure you guys also check out our OnlyFans, onlyfans.com/furyfighting for some behind the scenes interviews, pictures, things of that nature. Also, make sure you go to.
So wait, real quick, because I don't know too much about OnlyFans, and I see a lot more guys doing it.
It's
You guys
not
ain't showing your
just
ass on
porn.
OnlyFans.
Oh,
Eve.
for sure, yeah.
are
It's
just
straight
porn.
asshole every.
So like,
It's not just porn. Eve.
I don't know if we told you at the end of this show, it's dicks out for everyone.
Yeah, we're all waiting.
Before that.
Hey, I'm standing next to Diego. I just want you to know. I'm standing next to Diego. There's no ice
So-
in here.
So OnlyFans is trying to get away from just that idea of that they're just a porn company.
Yeah.
Like, because they do support a lot of other things, a lot of cool things you can go in there and see, a lot of creator content type stuff. So, check out our OnlyFans. Make sure you check out Kimura Tattoo Company. Ronnie Briley over there doing some of the best tattoos you can find. Make sure you tell them we sent you guys in
Bringing
there.
you the finest nut checks in
The
fight
finest
game.
nut checks. All nut checks are brought to you by Kimura Tattoo Company. Make sure you check out private label bags, Sheath Underwear, sheathunderwear.com, Aces Performance Exhaust. I feel like I'm missing somebody here.
I don't think I can have.
I'm sure I am.
No. You pretty much hit everybody. Whenever you shout out Aces Performance Exhaust,
some with some
man,
of these
like I think of like Justice Torres, Michael Aswell Jr., and that's pretty much it. But hey, Aces Performance Exhaust, I need to get by there. They got some work to do on my truck. I need some exhaust.
Hey, so
Yeah.
we're an hour and a half into
Put
this
some on the
debacle
Porsche.
of a show, and I
How's that
wanted
pour
to
working for you,
I
Corley?
wanted to make sure that
it good?
that we did get some information and talk a little bit about this weekend's card, UFC 285. A crazy card. You got Valentina Shevchenko,
Did you watch it?
losing her title.
Yep.
In
I
a-
didn't watch it, but I'm shocked. I was shocked by that finish.
I was more shocked by how she lost her title.
I was
She
third
tapped.
row.
Because her grappling's very good.
I was third row.
Oh yeah, you're right. We were third row. That's right. I'm sorry for not putting that on my Instagram this week, guys, as I didn't care.
You hear this, Diego?
We're lying,
Diego,
guys. We weren't
lying.
third
Diego,
row.
I
came home.
feel
We
like
came
we're
home.
rubbing
We came
our
home.
noses in it. They're like just rubbing our noses straight in.
We
it. Like,
came
We were
home.
on the
We
third
didn't-
row.
Hey,
Where were you guys?
Listen, we were
I
third
was,
row at Tough Enough the night before.
We were at third
man.
row at Tough Enough the night before.
I wasn't that tough enough.
We,
the night
hey,
before. I
and we were
wasn't-
watching
I mean,
Justin Bernard.
Didn't miss anything.
We were watching.
Hey, Justin. Hey, shout out to Justin Bernard, one of the best announcers in the game.
Hey, he may be.
Maybe the best Asian announcer.
I've got no disrespect toward
Hey,
Justin
you
Bernard
and
at all.
Justin Bernard.
I've got no disrespect toward Justin Bernard at all.
Y'all should fight.
That's the
I'm down.
solution to everything.
Just
Landlord
to get
problems,
everything.
fight. You
down.
got
Hey, I
announcer
just
problems, fight.
found out that Texas is a mutual combat state.
I'm down.
The game just changed for me, man.
He's like, do you
Right.
agree?
I had
Like,
nothing.
yeah.
Hey,
Like,
Eve,
Oh, so as long as you both agree, it's all
Eve,
good.
Yeah.
Eve, I
You
had
wanna fight?
nothing
Let's go
against
fight.
Justin Bernard. My two closest friends in the fight game, they pit us against each other. Like they pick him over me, like in the highest profile spots that I deserve. They pick him, and it's like, okay, well, hey, fuck you two assholes who I know and love in this fight game. I'll fight whoever you want me to for that microphone.
You fight Bruce
That's
Buffer.
it. I'll fight him too. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
I don't know, bro. Bruce ain't no bitch.
I know. I know that.
Hey,
I
he's
know that.
undefeated in elevators, man.
Yeah,
I know
look
that.
it up.
He's like
Look it up.
undefeated. He's 1-0 in elevators.
Wasn't Matt Sarah?
Trig.
Trig, Frank Trig.
Yes.
Like Buffer took on Trig in an elevator.
Yeah, it was on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they fought. There's a story on UFC Fight
Like when
Pass.
Trig was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
fighting
Trig was
or-
fighting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when
It's a
Trig
really
was
awesome
fighting, bro.
story.
Yeah.
I ain't
cool.
scared.
Hey, Bruffer's no joke.
I ain't scared.
Ain't no joke.
I ain't scared. Just want you to know.
Hey, so what did you guys think about John Jones?
I grew up in
Coming
Spring,
out of
Texas. I
heavyweight?
ain't scared of that motherfucker.
Man.
That's a problem, right?
So this is what
I feel like 99% of the time it wouldn't go like that.
No one saw that.
I don't know, man. This is John Jones. Like 90% of his
goddamn,
other
that's
fights
all
have gone
over the
that way, you know?
laptop.
But my thing about John, I'm like, I look at this and I'm like, you know what? When he had that no contest against
Matt
DC,
Hamill? Oh,
no,
DC.
not the loss on his record,
Okay.
but the fight they just basically got wiped, right?
Yeah.
When he had that no contest against DC, like DC went up right after that and won the heavyweight title.
Yeah.
And I just feel like John is the kind of guy who's looking at that and like, man, anybody that guy could beat, I can beat. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I feel like he feels like he owns DC. So like,
Do you think
Rightfully so, I would say.
Do you think there was something in DC that wanted Jones to lose?
I don't know if DC's
I
that
think he
kind
knew.
of.
99%.
I think he knew just like everybody else that he was going to
99%.
win.
I mean, I don't
knows.
think there was a better heavyweight
I don't
fight for him to return
I don't
to.
think he was probably like actively hoping for him to lose, but I think he would probably celebrate it.
I do. I do. I do, and I agree.
One of the
I do, and
problems,
I
though,
agree.
is that okay? Let's be honest. Outside of Curtis Blades, who has the wrestling to keep up with John? I love Stipe. I love Stipe definitely. He's got good wrestling. He's also had a lot of wear and tear on that body.
He's put out a lot of fires.
Yep.
I mean, he couldn't have. Was there a better fighter for him to fight for the title? No, Gane was the perfect guy to fight. He clearly, Francis Ngannou. took him down.
Ngannou would have been great. That
So
would
who
have been
does he
better,
fight
but
next?
Look, man, that was like
Fight Stipe
due to
next.
circumstances beyond their control, that couldn't
I
happen.
feel like he's gonna handle Stipe easy.
I think
Yeah,
so too.
I agree.
I think he will too.
I
If
agree.
Stipe's gonna try and fight, like stand up with him, he's gonna get. Pieced.
I mean, listen. The only guy I think, and I could be wrong, that could handle John Jones now, not handle him, keep up with him, is Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall with off the knee injury, like he's black belt on the ground, decent wrestling, and he's a lot younger. That's the only thing I'm thinking. Because who else is going to beat John Jones at heavyweight?
I don't.
Ain't
Man,
nobody's beating him right now.
I don't
and
think
I saw,
anybody's
you know,
beating
one
John
of
Jones
one
right
of the things after the fight, he's, and you know, it was like a flawless victory, but even himself, he's like, you know, I just didn't feel right. If you saw, I was over kind of throwing, my feet
Yeah.
weren't really good. At least he's being honest with
Right.
himself, and he knows
What he
like,
needs to
what he
fix.
needs, and he's the type that's going to come back and even be better than that.
Like-
That was 3 years.
So,
you know?
so that's the thing. It's like
How old is he now?
He's 35.
35, yeah.
So I went back and watched. My wife, she knew John Jones, but she didn't know who he was at the beginning. You know, she just got into the sport, and we went back and watched some of his early fights. And his very first fight again, I forget the Brazilian guy, but his very first fight, 9 months into the
Alessio
game.
Sakara.
I think it was not Gustafsson.
No.
Dos Anjos.
No.
No, I know who.
Like it's a name we won't even remember, you know.
Brazilian names
But like he was 9 months in. He was 9 months in. He had no striking whatsoever.
Right.
And then in his next fight with Bonner, he looked much improved.
Right.
And then by the time he got to Thiago Santos, who is a much better kickboxer, has way more time kickboxing than John Jones, he didn't shoot a takedown.
No.
And he still won the fight. Yeah, I know Santos had knee problems and whatnot, but like he's still playing in his world, and that's not John Jones's world. You know, John, like he's the GOAT because of how he's done.
Right.
Andre Guzmão.
Of how he's done what he's done to everybody that he's done his shit too.
Yeah.
You know, he's ran through everybody, and then the guys we didn't run through.
Except for Matt Hamill. Just say. Matt Hamill can take that to his grave.
I call John Jones one defeated.
Well, I
he
mean,
literally
Alexander
only beat
Gustafsson
himself.
when he fought him the
The
first time.
first time, but he like
Yeah, but he also
didn't
didn't
do
train.
anything.
The longer,
He
the
did a
longer
bump
this
with cocaine
goes-
on the way to the
And then
ring.
Dominic
the next
Reyes.
one, like that's the thing. Like I feel like the Dominic Reyes Santos things, like he just like
He was
you
kind
get
of
like look at Jose Aldo. Look at like these guys will hold like GSP. These guys will have the belt for a while. They become the bar. They just you kind of get bored. And you just like
Shevchenko.
Shevchenko.
Yeah,
you just
Shevchenko's a great
kind of you just do enough to win.
The longer
Right.
this goes, the more negotiating power Francis Ngannou has. It's like I was not beaten for the title. You didn't beat me, and I'm right there with
Francis
you.
Ngannou's got some terrible people helping him in his ear because
Yes,
he's,
I know.
He's going to go fight. He says he's going to fight Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
You're not going to win that.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
you're not going to beat Deontay
And
Wilder.
also,
He might
even
be
if he
setting
does
a
win it,
career
even if he does
or
win it, who
to
gives
end.
a shit?
No one cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody wants to see that. The money fight is Francis versus Jones.
But even that Francis at his best, I don't think has enough tools in his bag.
But
to
we
stand with
don't.
Jones.
But we don't know until it happens. And I'm right there with you. But we don't know until it happens. And now
I know.
he's gone. And now it's like never say never.
Oh, I know.
Like
I know.
Francis, the thing, like he's the one guy though who has that like he has that I touch you and you're done.
He does.
Like and like he only has
And
like,
we don't know until the fight happens.
Anybody he touches, that's
He does,
over.
but I watched his. I was there for his first fight with Stipe, and Stipe got touched, and Stipe did not fall down. He then wore him out with wrestling against Cage and whatnot. Like if Stipe can do, and I know Ngannou's got better, but John Jones is look. He's
I
the
think
he's
Of
the
course,
best-
he's like miles
he's
ahead
the
of him.
best version
but
of fighting.
I put
we
John
don't
Jones
know
in that
until we
fight.
see it.
Yeah.
But we don't know
But
until we
I
see
don't,
it.
but
And
I
earlier,
can't.
Stipe makes a tougher fight. Right now, I think he's got too many miles.
He didn't look
You're-
too excited.
yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
He's been roughed up.
John Jones and Ngannou thing. Like, I feel like we could all agree on this. I expect John Jones to win.
Sure.
Of course.
But if Francis knocked him out, I wouldn't be surprised.
No.
Exactly.
Right.
You know?
And we don't know until we see it. But unfortunately, Francis like rode off into the sunset.
I
He's
think-
going to go do other
I
shit
think we're
now.
gonna
And
get-
Dana doesn't want him back because he's an asshole.
I think
with
John
negotiations
beats.
or
I think
whatever.
John beats Stipe in July. I think then he fights the winner of Blades and Sergey, and then
Right,
after
right.
that, man, who's left? He's
He ain't
probably
gonna-
done.
I think after Stipe, he's done.
He's probably. I mean, and why not?
He won't go back to 205.
No,
it's
not after
No,
putting on
I
that
mean,
weight. I
what do I know?
as far
But
as-
I mean, I don't
as far as
think
putting
so.
on that
Why
weight,
would you?
like this is what I was
To make a
getting at
super
earlier.
fight
As far
with
as putting
Alex
on that
Pereira.
weight, like I think he's looking up at that weight class and thinking, I could, like DC can go up there and win this belt. I can do the same thing easily, right? But like like maybe he has people around him talk him into it. Because everybody's like the narrative of him taking the time off to gain the weight and whatnot. But I'm like, what if he took that time off to work on John Jones instead of, and just put on the weight while he was doing it?
So that's kind of like what I've heard from people talking in the background is that it wasn't just about putting on weight, because remember John trained with heavyweights his entire 205 career. You know, over there at Jackson's, he was sparring with heavyweights all the time, and so he had a younger Alistair Overeem there. He had all these guys there at that time, and so it was a lot of getting his personal life and his mental right in order and dealing with some of the ramifications from what he had done years prior still. You know, he was still dealing with court cases from this or civil cases from this. And that's hard to want to go train when you got people trying to sue you for like pulling guns and shit. I mean, look, if there was a fighter ever that you were going to go, you have to choose one person to go and fight for you or you die, I'm choosing John Jones 1,000% of the time. Because who has ever even put him in a bad spot? Like you look at Gustafsson, the fight, you go back, it was a great fight. It was a fun fight. Jones didn't get dropped. He got taken down. But like we're celebrating the fact that a guy was able to connect with him more than other people.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy how far his like level and bar is above everyone else. You know, and those later fights, Reyes and Thiago.
Santos.
I feel like from watching, John probably just showed up that week like, all right, I'm here. Like I'm, you know,
Yeah.
another fight. Here we go. I mean, he's the greatest fighter we've ever seen. At
100%.
Heavyweight, there's no one now in the UFC I think that gives him a problem. So like I'm not excited to see John at heavyweight outside of saying I'd like to see a little bit more of him at heavyweight. Like I'd like to see him move a little more, see if he gets his feet under him a little bit. He's been out 3 years. The only other person who's done anything close has been GSP when he came back and beat Bisping. So it's, you know, you talk about Jones, man. I don't know. It's hard to you can't find a flaw with the guy. Like we're nitpicking it. Hey, look, his belly was a little bigger than it was before.
So yeah, it's a different weight class.
Great, he choked out a dude with abs. Congratulations. Congratulations. So then you had Valentina Shevchenko surprisingly giving up her title. You know, she put it on just a mistake she made.
No, I think there was some.
Her boob didn't fall out.
As a striking person that I think I've known Valentina and Pavel and all of them for a long time. They used to come down to Houston Muay Thai back when me and Bob were doing that together. I think she got kind of what you call like one tracked. She was staying in this same thing and not adjusting in the fight. And the corner of Grasso said all the right things. They noticed that Shevchenko doesn't use she doesn't use her switch kick or does her walk up kick. She always throws from that rear kick. She will slap a low kick with her lead leg, but she doesn't throw it up there. So when they went southpaw, and actually most people when they go southpaw, they doing it for like 1 or 2 strikes and they go back. And I always tell people, when someone switches southpaw, kick them because they're not going to block. They don't practice defense from there. Shevchenko didn't kick, and that's what they banked on.
Man.
They banked on Shevchenko not kicking because she's super strong with that left rear body, rear to the kick. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, Shevchenko. I was like, my girlfriend was like, why are you yelling so much? Because I know her. I'm like, why is she not kicking? She's like the best female Muay Thai fighter, to do MMA, and she wasn't making any adjustments on that. And I think sometimes because her whole career she's been super successful, and if I'm not feeling my striking, I can always take somebody down. If I'm not feeling my striking, I can do this or do that,
vice versa.
And they just had a really good game plan. Do I think in the rematch it's going to change? Yes. But it was very good. Not good. Also, it was very cool to see a team so well prepared with the whole. You saw them practicing the spinning.
That's what I thought was amazing.
But I think what I was saying earlier is something that people don't think about is with the kicker. Valentina does usually low kick with her lead side. She doesn't throw high. She does spin, and she throws very hard left high kicks, body kicks, anything.
Did she not? Wait. What kick did she adjust Guy with? Was that rear leg or lead leg?
It was a
rear leg. She's southpaw.
Okay.
And when they switched southpaw, they said that they noticed that she doesn't kick as much because they know you're not going to block.
Yeah.
We're not going to. There's no way you're going to be able to practice that, especially against Shevchenko within this amount of time. They said go forward with the punching, and that was what I was most impressed with. I thought Shevchenko was going to adjust. I think she was winning the fight. It was 2 rounds to 1, in my opinion.
I agree.
But she was not dominating. But it was 2 rounds to 1. A rematch, it's going to be an even better because Shevchenko now knows the game that.
You think it goes the same way in the rematch?
Well, Shevchenko's 34?
Yeah,
34,
she's probably
35?
right around there, yeah.
I think
she's been fighting like
since
international
like 2 years
level
old.
since she was like,
Yeah.
I knew her in Muay Thai. She won the IFMA World Championships, which is like the the Olympics of Muay Thai. She won it, I believe, 11 times. I'm like, so that means you never lose because there's no losers bracket. You win, you advance. And I was like, so in 11 World Championships, she went like 55-0.
Damn.
And she fought like Joanna at those things. She fought. She's like, they're no nonsense in their practice. They're no nonsense, everything. That's why I'm like, I think they were just kind of not prepared for that adjustment that the Grasso team did. She just stayed kind of one-tracked in her game. And, but the rematch, I like them both. I like it's a real good shakeup for the division, but I'm going to probably bet on Shevchenko.
It's hard to start. It's hard when you have success for so long to continue to find holes in your own game, and that's what your coach is supposed to do. Your coach is supposed to, like when guys are getting ready for fights, I'm watching my guys and I'm like, all right, how do I beat you? So like I'm looking at their opponent, find their weakness. Or find what I believe to be their weaknesses, but I also look for their strengths. And then I take those strengths and I look at my guys, and I'm looking at my guys as like, all right, what weaknesses that I can exploit with my strengths, And then what I want to do with my guys is we want to shore those up. We want to make sure that, they come in trying to exploit this weakness and it's no longer a weakness, and they're like, fuck, I can't do that. Okay, because like that's one thing Lewis has always said. That I think we both got from Lewis is like the guy who makes the adjustment. That's the guy who can win, and you want to give them as little opportunities to make that adjustment as possible by shoring up everything, right? So if there's little adjustment, if there's only a few adjustments for them to make and they can't find it, but you can find all these adjustments that you need to make against them, man, you're just way ahead of the game.
So each of you guys have had careers that's traveled the globe. Been around the sport a long time. For those new people, and not just the guys in your gym, but people listening as well, what piece of advice, if you give us one piece of advice to a young fighter coming up, like what would you tell them?
Me first? Okay.
Don't lose.
I would just say, yeah.
Don't lose.
Find people and find a place of people that you want to, where they've gone, that you want to go. Because it's always hard to take someone someplace you've never been before. When I say that, that doesn't mean that if you're a coach and you've never fought, you can't take someone to the highest level. It's already been proven that coaches can do that. But I guarantee those coaches were mentored by people that have taken people to the highest level. So it's a very low chance that if you're going to some gym and the coach doesn't have mentors or people that are, a coach should always have a coach, if that makes sense. If they're egotistical and we're the best gym and we do this and we do that, we're hard, all that stuff. Those gyms are just, as my friend says, it's on a 5-year rotation. They'll be gone in 5 years. You got to go somewhere.
It's very generous. 5 years.
Yeah, but you
That's
always
what
want
I say about promotions.
Yeah.
Except it's a 1-year turnaround.
You want to go somewhere where people have proven that they can take people to that place, and maybe and they've been there themselves. And then the most important thing is showing up and putting fighting first. And these days, everybody's doing strength and conditioning. They're doing this, they're doing that, but
Social
they're not
media.
working on skill-based training. And at the end of the day, it's a fight, and you'd be working on the skills that are fight. That is number one. It's like the funniest thing at me and Eve is like we have a lot of these guys come in and they're like, where were you at on Wednesday? I was like, oh, I was doing wrestling. Well, you got a wrestling meet coming up? It's like this is an MMA fight, you got
You've been doing any striking?
It's like, I'm coming from Muay Thai and boxing. He's coming from those things, but like a true MMA specialist, and we both agree that's not it. So if you can't take it from both of us, that's not the way to go, then no. But yeah, basically put fighting and fight specific training as number one. All those other things are supplemental. The strength and conditioning,
CrossFit,
your movement coach, your mind
Bench
coach,
press,
whatever.
squats.
Yeah. You're like, I did a hardcore wrestling practice with these high school wrestlers. Oh, how many of them compete in MMA? Yeah. I mean, that's cool to do it. It's good. It's good exercise.
For the guys, do you recommend no sex for 30 days leading up to the fight?
Hey,
Man,
we're to that portion of the show. Eric likes to drag it there.
I don't know. If I wouldn't. What was it like?
Save all your
when it
energy.
came out from,
Women make knees
I don't
weak,
think-
rock.
I think it's already been proven like that it's not does anything to you physically, but it's a mental thing. Abstaining from anything that's pleasurable. You want to be like, I'm watching movies like Heat. I'm watching movies like Gladiator. I don't want to kill somebody.
Rocky.
I don't
Hey,
want to.
so
Rocky.
side note,
Women
and just to
make
put
knees weak,
to
rock.
put a rating on this podcast, I used to edge before big fights.
And that's ladies and gentlemen.
And that's Yves Edwards, guys.
He said that in the gym the other day. And I was like,
Learn more about edging on our OnlyFans, guys, at onlyfans.com/Fury Fighting.
No, but
Eric, I told you don't put anything in this drink.
Eric might have slipped a little bit of howler in his cup.
I asked him if he wanted more. He said,
Show's
"I don't
getting
think
good
so."
now, boys. All right.
yeah. That's the Hollahead talking.
We have students at the gym. They're talking about the first thing they're going to take from this podcast. No,
He hasn't fought in years.
Yeah.
He's been fine. It's fine.
But no, to piggyback off of what Corley, what Irish was saying
Irish.
was that, especially when it comes to the ego thing, when you have a coach who doesn't want you to go anywhere else, like I have a problem with that.
Yeah. I would imagine.
They're like with my guys, there's some guys that I'm like, I don't think that's a great place, but I'm never going to tell you not to go.
Sure.
Because you don't want him to get hurt and shit.
Exactly. That's the thing.
But
right?
as a coach,
Because the
you know
ego's
where
at the
they
other
might
place.
need to go to cross train, like
Right.
what might benefit them, as opposed to going where the fuck they want to go.
That's the thing. I mean, we have a network, right? So
Right.
that's one thing.
That's the thing. If it's
a
outside
network,
of
right?
people I know, then I'm not. No.
Yeah, if
no.
it's outside of our network,
know a
that's
pretty
the
good
thing.
amount of
I
people
will.
that are good.
I will.
You know what you're good at, and you
I'm
know
gonna
what somebody else
recommend.
may be
Like
good
you
at,
would
can
never
send
tell
them
them to
to
go
that
train
gym.
with Rich.
I would not recommend some places, but I'm not gonna tell you can't do it. But at the same time, when you go to these places, like shoot, Travis is a network, but
Right.
if you go someplace, let's go with like Corey Sandhagen and those guys, right? Rafion trains with those guys sometimes. Sometimes those guys come down here. You can pick up some good stuff from those guys, and you could bring that back and bring that information back here, and we can use that information too. But like I don't like these coaches who are like, don't go train at this place, because like their reasoning, which they will never tell their fighter, their reasoning is, I don't want you to see them full of shit.
Right.
And that's a problem for me, because like I've seen a lot of guys in this game, man, where they have these talented athletes, and that's who make it to the UFC. And
they
that's
plateau.
why
They don't go nowhere
they got to
further.
the UFC, because they were
Talent.
talented.
Yeah.
Like OSP is one of those guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like unless
And they
you're-
plateau like they're the best that they'll ever be right there at that level with their debut, right?
Exactly, right? And you need somebody else to help you break through that ceiling, and so for me, it's like I would love, like when you get to the point where you feel like there's nothing else, or there's very little more that I can teach you, and you see another window. I don't mind you crawling out the window, going over there, and then bringing that stuff back, and I have no problem with us collaborating. Me and this other person collaborating to help you get better, and yeah, if you want to move on, you move on. I completely understand that too. But if you want to stick around with us, it's always the thing. That's the thing. One thing that I got from Saul too. It was like, when I came back to Houston to train or just to call Saul up, Saul was still my coach. You know what I mean? He was always there for me. I could always come back and go in his room, and I can get work, and he can help me get better. And if I were to say, Saul, I need you for this camp, or I need you in my corner, like
You'd have been there
he'd be
100%.
Yeah. Even though I left and went to the American Top Team, because Saul was never like, oh well, those guys. Saul will tell you he was full of shit. He will tell you that, and I will do the same. I'll tell you
Saul
full
would
of
never
shit.
tell you his way was the only way.
Exactly. And that's something that really stuck with me there too.
Yeah.
I think but some things are just, you may have all
I will tell you not to go to some people because they're full of shit. Like that guy's full of shit. Don't go over there.
Well,
If
name
you want to go,
names.
go. But
No,
that guy's
Eve,
full of shit.
who? Eve, who?
Well, it's like
I'll fight them all. I don't
Hey,
give a
it doesn't take long, and you said something earlier that rings true, especially at like my gym when I'm talking with our guys. Someone like, and it's always some amateur kid who has never even had a fight yet, who doesn't even know how to throw his jab in the first place.
But he found a
He's
better
like,
place.
Man, I got this place. You want to do some spinning shit? I'm like, okay, that's great.
John's Gym.
Could you learn
John's
the basics
Gym,
first before
homie.
we go do this? But
Hey, there's a
If-
real John's Gym in
Yeah.
Oh, is there?
Austin.
I was totally making up some
if
shit.
you don't know,
No
if
offense,
you don't
John.
know-
Shout out John Ramsier.
If you don't
No
know
offense.
the coach, if you don't know the coach they're going to, or you don't know the coach they're going to, there's a good chance they don't know shit.
Yeah.
There's a really
Hank.
like as
Don't
big
go to
as
Hank's
Houston
gym.
MMA
Hank.
or Texas.
They have a
MMA
Hank's
is,
Gym in Houston.
God
It's
damn.
still a small community.
There's
of,
a
like,
boxing
knowledge,
gym inside there.
and it's pretty
Hey,
easy to
I'm
find
gonna
out
check
who's
out
full of
Hank's
shit,
Gym.
who's
I'm
not
not
full
gonna
of
lie.
shit.
Jeremiah's gym.
And it's all a lot of people know the same people, have been around the same people. It takes one phone call or a text to figure out like, no, don't go.
Who is who
Yeah.
and what is what?
It doesn't take much.
Sometimes it's not even. There's people out there that are skilled that some people just don't get. They don't hit it off personality wise. Some fighters want to be coddled. Some fighters want you to let them know how it is. Say you suck today. You're fucking doing shitty. And there's some people that are like, today was a rough day, but tomorrow we're gonna do this. It's all the.
Yeah, you definitely have to learn personalities as
Yeah,
a coach.
it's
that's weird for me because like
God damn, Corley, you weren't there is a Hank's Gym.
I told you.
I'm not like that was the thing. Like I told you the story about that punk beat your ass. Like that bitch knocked you out. So like that's the thing for us. Like,
That guy
it's like,
left,
We
and
keep. Oh man, I've watched Corley lay into some people about some bad performances, and I agree 100%. Like it's just that I'm no longer angry.
Yeah, that's the thing. As I was sitting there, I was like, we're gonna have a talk with.
You are
We're gonna have a
truly
talk
like
with
water.
him. We're gonna have a talk with him. I'm not gonna say their name on the podcast. We're gonna have a talk with him. We're gonna have a talk with him. We're gonna have a talk with him. And then I'm like, Yves is cut from the same cloth. I'm like, literally learned a lot from him. And I'm sitting there in this meeting because it's it's my gym. And I'm just like, and you were this, and leading up to the fight, you did that, and then after the fight, you had the nerve to do this, and blah blah blah. And you fought like shit. You need to own it. And then Yves like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much what he said.
I'm like, no.
Yep.
I was like, Eve, you
What
can't
he
put this
said.
on.
What he said.
I was like, where's that Eve that I used to?
I 100% agree with him. Like, you got to fix this shit. But like, he's right.
Hey.
I can't add to it.
So where can for those who don't know, where can people learn more about your gym?
HeritageMuaythai.com. We have our full schedule on there. The stuff that's like off the menu items, you gotta reach out to us, reach out to me or Eve. You can hit up the Instagram, his Instagram, or hit up mine, or hit up the website and you say, I know y'all got some stuff that's not on that schedule, and we do, but you got to come and talk to us. We've had some.
What are those
people-
Instagram handles?
At heritagemuaythai.com. I mean, at Heritage Muay Thai, and his is at Thug Jitsu Master.
Thug Jitsu
Thug
Master.
Jitsu
That's all my
Master.
social media is Thug Jitsu Master.
So, but when y'all came up, based on the scene then versus the scene now, you would think that the guys are super blessed and have almost a direct path to stardom.
Man,
They
so-
train hard,
It's
right?
like an
That's it.
encyclopedia.
Hey,
It was,
so,
it was harder back then to, man, how am I going to get in the UFC? How am I going to get to Bellator, to PFL?
bro, it was
There was no
it was
roadmap
so
back
hard.
then.
It was so hard. And fortunately for me, like the sport was so small and my style was like
Stood apart.
You know?
Yep.
But like
and
there's a lot
shoulders
there's a
above the
lot of
rest,
guys
man.
now. There's a lot of guys who are dynamic and can do some things that people are like, man, that's fucking cool. You know, but
They learned that by watching
there's
you.
there's so many shows now. That's a big plus. That's a big help. But like, it's also could be a problem because there's some of these shows that there's some of these old school Buddy Alvin's still around.
Right.
You know, there's still some bullshit out there.
Some
And
Dale
you,
Cook
you
shows,
got you
though.
gotta have a coach who looks out for you
Right.
and really is gonna have your back in those situations, because if you get a coach who's just throwing you out there in front of everybody, that's the thing. I'm sorry, I was like, we started getting into that, and this howlerhead took me back to the Basil Littlefield.
Oh my God.
Let's go. Tell the
Why
story.
did that bring up?
I don't
Tell
know
the
why,
story.
but like, so
All right, hey.
Don't
hey,
say it,
Eve
man.
looked at you. Tell the story.
Because we brought up Joanne Kona earlier, and Joanne Kona like used to do fights. I'm every other weekend.
Yeah.
It was called like the Battle of New Orleans.
Yeah.
He used to
He
do them
still-
every
he
other,
still does them.
And
So-
he I mean, you would see like it was like the most odd shows. You would have a grappling match, then Pat Barry doing a kickboxing match, then like 4 or 5 MMA fights. Melvin Gillard got like 60 MMA fights
Yeah.
through that system.
Clemente, all those guys.
Oh,
were out
it
there
was
at the time.
crazy when we used
Jonathan
to.
Ivey dropping the
We
people's
didn't.
elbow.
Yeah.
We didn't go to a lot of them.
Ivey.
We went to a few of
Went to
them.
a few, yeah.
And
Is this guy still
I love
around?
it that Rich
Kona?
Burmaster knows
He's-
exactly
so-
who you guys are talking about. Rich
He was my
Burmaster.
first boxing coach.
I
Like,
love it. I
Like,
love that.
I like Joe. Back
Joe,
then,
Joe
I
was
was like,
Joe was like a
I
big
know.
deal in
I know.
PK, karate, like
was
the
like-
Who
kickboxing.
did USA MMA?
Boxing.
So that was Gil Guillory.
Oh, that was Gil
So
Guillory.
so
remember Gil and Ron
Joanne
Brandon.
Kona works with Tim Crater now.
Yep.
Yeah,
putting
they're
on
Bayou
shows.
Fighting Championships.
Bayou Fighting Championships, and every now and then you'll see Battle of New Orleans or something, because
Yep.
they still do them at the Mel Ott Center on Bell Chase Highway.
we took some
Bell
guys down
Chase,
there once.
goddamn.
Hey.
Lafayette, Louisiana.
That's where I'm from, man. Bell Chase,
Man.
Louisiana. I started Bell Chase Judo.
Man.
You know, that's where we all started off, man. And
Whenever we're off here.
Joanne Kona was the guy. So, like, I know it's off-road again, but, like, Joanne Kona, I grew up a little different than everybody else. Joanne Kona came to the place where I grew up at, and they did boxing lessons. And then they took all of us kids, and then we just fucking fought in, like, this auditorium. And they were like, we were, like, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And they would just let us all beat the shit out of each other. And that was Joanne Kona boxing. Like, then. And, like, you know, he's been around forever. He's done some things. Disappeared for a little bit, came back for a little
Yeah,
bit.
he's back.
More things.
Yeah, did some more things.
I like Joe and Kona.
Same.
I like him.
We
I
go- we
like
take some
anybody
guys
that
down there
anybody
sometimes.
that puts their time into the game, knowing that like you're not gonna. It's not promised.
You're not
that
gonna
yeah.
make $1 million.
Yeah.
I respect that. He's always been straight up with me, but I don't know why. I think it's because I don't know what it was that triggered us to do that because we like to prank and do goofy shit when we were coming up.
Back
It
then,
was
yeah.
like 25 years ago. I mean,
Yeah,
so,
so like we were at an FFC show.
We're driving
the
down
freestyle
not,
fighting.
not a
freestyle
Fury
fighting.
fighting championship show. It was FFC,
This was
one.
in Biloxi. He used to have
Thank
he
you,
used to
Mike.
do a.
No, that was Rob Braniff and
Oh shit!
No, I'm saying, but it wasn't. We saw them at that
we
show.
saw them at
so
that show.
That's when
yeah.
we did it.
So so on the way down there, we were calling, and
He had his team called the Pythons. Or
no
something
Team
like.
Anaconda.
Team Anaconda.
So
yeah.
I made up this character named Basil Littlefield.
Oh,
and
shit.
I called him. I'm like, "Hello, Mr. Anaconda. My name is Basil Littlefield. I gave some name. I work for."
Did
I
you
work
wear
for-
a mask when you like?
No, this is
did that?
back before. This is like before iPhones.
No social
you know?
media, nothing.
There's
Just
no
a,
social media,
just
no
a
iPhones.
classic.
I had to ask the questions. I'm sorry.
I'm
Just
like,
a classic prank
We're
phone
putting
call.
on a Kumite in Hong Kong, and we want to get some of your Team Anaconda fighters to come out and fight for us. We're especially interested in that Melvin Guillard kid. Blah, blah, blah. And then,
my God.
like we're driving, we're on the internet on the phone, and we look on the ground. It says that Joe Anaconda posted something about.
No, wait. You said before that. You said, "Now listen, Mr. Anaconda.
No,
this
that's
is
not-
very."
This,
Private. I don't want you to let
let him
nobody.
talk.
I don't want you letting nobody know about this. And then, like hour later, on the UG on the underground, and Kona's like, "Has anybody been approached by this Kumite?"
And so I get back on the call. I call him back and get his voicemail again. I was like, Mr. Anaconda, I told you we want some of your fighters, and we're interested in that guy Melvin Guillard, and we really want to bring you guys out there, but we see you post on the internet, and we need you to take that shit down because this is a private thing. This is a
And
very,
if you
very
don't-
secret thing. And don't talk about it again because we will fucking kill you.
Oh shit! I was thinking like legal action. I'm
No,
gonna sue you.
it's-
No, you're gonna kill him.
No, because I didn't know he was
Oh
gonna
my
take it
God.
that far.
Joe's
my
running
God.
around like fucking
And
Batman.
Kona, if you don't remove this immediately, I will fucking.
I will kill you.
And we kill the conversation. Like we're just kidding, and then
I will kill you. Hey, I will kill
fucking
you.
hilarious.
We're just kidding.
No.
Yeah.
But then
They were at the
we
fight.
get to the fights. We run into those guys, and
In the elevator.
in the elevator, you see Melvin. And you're like, "Hey man, what's going on? How you doing?" He's like, I'm good. You got anything coming up?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be fighting in Hong Kong real soon." So so they bought it. They bought it hook, line, and
Yeah, I got this.
I can't talk about anything else coming up.
I got
because
this
I might get
Basil
killed.
dude reaching out to me. We're
Oh
gonna
my
make
God,
shit
my
happen.
face hurts. I'm laughing so hard. God damn.
So yeah, we used to fuck around all the time. Like we used to just like middle of the night driving back. We used to drive down to South Texas.
Yeah.
We used to drive down to South Texas, and like we had
Like Brownsville, Edinburgh, like down in that area.
we had Raul,
Okay.
who was the driver.
Yeah.
So he used to do all the driving. So we used to just take these road trips and go down, and we go anywhere for fights, man. I went down. I fought down in Brownsville.
Yeah.
Once.
Well, we
and-
used to have to cross the border.
That's as
We-
far
Did you
south
come with us?
Texas
No,
as
you
you
weren't-
go
you weren't
is
around yet.
Brownsville, brother.
But I went across the border with Tito Ortiz,
Oh shit.
Shannon
Hey,
Rich.
because you're one of those salsa
and John
Lee's guys.
Lober.
I know.
Yeah, Shannon Rich and John Lober. And then we also you were
We
with
took.
us
I
because
took.
we were
One
on
time.
Ivy one time, right?
Yeah, we had my. At
That's
one time,
right.
I had a big Dodge truck, and I took everybody in that, and we went into this truck stop,
I've got
and
jokes,
Rocky
I'm gonna hold
Rocky Long and Carlo were cutting weight, and Yves was in the back with him. And they're like, "Man, just pull over, man. I gotta go to the restroom, man." Like, they're all cutting weight. They're all pissed off.
That's it.
And so
Pussy.
Ivy's like, "Yeah, I gotta get out too." So we go back. We come back in. Ivy's fighting at heavyweight. We come back in, and like Carlo and Rocky are wearing all like they got like a sauna suit and the
Sauna
sweats
suit,
over
shit.
it.
Okay.
Eve is in the back with him, and Ivy comes in the front
go,
seat
Eve.
next to me with a bucket
No.
of fried chicken. I'm not shit you not, a bucket of fried chicken, and like Carlo, he was hot. You could tell he was like fucking pissed.
A lot of
And
protein in that bucket.
Rocky's just sitting there turning his head, and Eve is like, "Ivy, what the fuck are you doing? You know, bucket of chicken." He's like, "I don't have to make weight. We still got like 3 hours until we get there."
You got a lot of time to go.
He didn't give a shit, man. It was horrible. It was really bad. And then,
But that's like the things
Hey,
back in the day. That's if you wanted to fight with MMA gloves and you were in Texas or a gym from Houston, you either had to go to Louisiana or go down to the border.
But you used to have to call places to look.
Yeah.
And now you got everybody calling y'all. Hey, you got anybody?
Yeah.
Y'all got guys?
Yeah.
Y'all
But
got
that's
guys?
what it was about. Like, if you had to like cut weight or make weight or do some shit, that was the stories. That's how they did it back in the day.
Yeah,
That was like Ancona shows.
driving down to a place in Texas in the summer wearing plastic in the car and not turn on the AC because you know you got to make weight when you get there.
Yeah.
You know, you're driving down there to
God
fight,
damn,
you
it's a
gotta make
dying
weight when you
breed.
get there.
It's a dying breed, man.
There
It's
was-
not like that anymore.
It's very different.
It's different. See,
Yeah.
so that was a little bit after like I was going because like in my time, literally, Boss Rutan was coming to town, and there were some fights down in I forget somewhere south in Houston, but like Boss Rutan was coming to town, was supposed to fight with Buddy
Victoria,
Albin
let's say.
in Houston, in Dallas, and I called Buddy Albin. I was like, I'm not coming up there, just because I wanted to fight where Boss was going to be. And I walked into the rules meeting. I'm like, hey, if nobody has a fight, I will fight them, just because Boss was here hanging out on this card. You know, they found me a fight. I fought like Tim Horton, that guy, the big guy.
That was
who-
pancreation?
yeah. No, but actually that was NHB.
NHB,
It was
that's
like
right, yeah.
it was close fist. I don't know what was the deal. I don't know if the commission wasn't around, didn't know what it. No, the rule was you couldn't punch people in the face.
Right.
But everybody's punching people in the face anyway. So
How are we gonna have a fight and dictate?
It's
You
just
can't
like
punch
it's so
in the
different
face.
because now you can literally fight in Houston every weekend.
Every
for
weekend.
somebody, and then pick
Man,
the right
I-
path. You know.
So I was talking like I train with these guys now, and these 35 pounders, and I'm working with them, and I'm drilling with them. Yeah, we got some 55ers in there too, but those guys are really young, and like since I've been back, like the pandemic happened, I wasn't doing it. I gained some weight. I've been back. I've lost like 30 plus
What,
pounds.
12
right?
pounds? You gained 12 pounds?
No, I gained
Shit.
a bunch of weight. I looked
He
at
looked
the
like me
scale,
for
I
a
was
minute.
like-
It was
I was
crazy.
like, that's not me. That's like me and a child.
Low
And,
dudo.
but like I lost like 30 plus pounds, and I'm like the weight's still coming down, and I'm like, man, like even if 170 looks realistic, I might want to do one more just because I never fought no holds barred. I never fought MMA in Houston.
Let's
I never
go.
fought closed fist in Houston. So I'm like,
Listen, I'm not saying we know some guys. I'm just
But-
saying.
But
I'm
hey,
just saying if that
We
itch
know some guys.
needs to be scratched.
can
We know
scratch
some
if,
guys.
if you're
to scratch
itching,
for you.
if you're itching, we can make it scratch.
it's funny, man. I miss like this is where it started. Maybe I don't know. I got another
How cool would it
probably
be to
2.5,
put Eves on
3
a
years
card?
on.
Hey, Eve,
on
Eve,
that
do you
on that
have
window?
Yeah.
Eve, do you have one more in ya?
I don't know, man. That might be a thing. It might be a thing. I'm just gonna put that on the table
Who's
right now
older,
and say
you
that
or
might be a
Pete?
thing. Pete's older.
Because Pete came back to us how many years ago?
So Eve, if we
no.
gave
It was like
you
in
Colin
19
Cantrell,
it was
would you
like-
be willing to run a rematch?
It was like 4 or 5 years
I
ago.
give Colin a rematch.
It was
that
like
was a
4 or
whole
5 years
fucking
ago.
segment, guys. Y'all are just talking
Yeah.
over this shit. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I'm
Thank you,
40. I'm
Irish.
46 now. I'll be 47 this year, so I got like
Hey, Colin Cantrell's
A
like
year and a half.
57.
on the
Well, hey, I know as we're kind of winding down right here, man. I just want to thank both of you guys again. One for like the way you guys have both carried yourself throughout your careers.
Yeah, it's been great, man.
Eves, you had a group of moron kids running around talking about we knew thug jitsu and shit, and that like hey, and that has been a part of like our vernacular and saying since I can remember.
It's on
Like
his
I
shirt.
don't remember a time where we didn't. Like I didn't. So I just got my first degree in my black belt. I never gave a shit about having a black belt. All I cared about was like I was like, man, I'm getting thug jitsu. Like only, and that's how we all talk. I came up around Crater and all those guys. So like, you've always been this guy. Like, man, thank you. Like everything you've done and like the road that you set out there for us. You're here. So yeah,
you, man.
no, but seriously, man, like the way you guys also have like you've helped my gym, my facility. My wife thinks you're like the greatest striking coach of all time. I keep telling her, I was like, he's all right.
I think you're in there, Corley.
He really is, man. Like, but you two guys have opened up your facility to not just my team, but like fighters in general. And,
Y'all got a good group,
And
man.
unlike other places I have seen and been a part of, I never have a fear of like my guys go in there, they're going to get taken advantage of, or they're like they're learning. They're going in there and they're learning. And thank you guys for like what you've done and what you've given back to this community.
because I can tell you it's early in the stages of what you guys are doing together, but I can see how amazing it's going to be, man. Thank you guys very much.
Appreciate
you.
that, man. We we love these guys that come in. Like pretty much all the guys that come in, we call it Thug Jitsu University, Thug U. So all these guys that come into Thug U, they work pretty hard, man. We try to keep everybody's focused. A lot of them stay focused on their own. We just try to keep everybody focused on building skills.
Yeah.
Like that's in the end, that's what this is all about, building skills, you know? That's why I like the name Thug Jitsu University, because, like, you should be learning something
Love
here.
it, man. Love it. Love
No
it.
AC, no heat.
That's it. Like, we're just working hard. We're just
So-
working hard, getting smart.
Well, man, thank you guys for being on the show today. We got one thing left to do.
Hey, on behalf of Michael Chase Corley, Yves Edwards, the OG of the UFC, the time for talk is over. This has been Fury Unleashed.
Oh, God.
Great job.